Hello, you beautiful bastards, and welcome to my so-called show. Today, me and the League of the R.M.S.B, the Retro Menace Spider Bastards, we will be discussing Tobe Hooper's classic Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I am joined by critic Al, who is currently wearing one of those very old-fashioned masks doctors used to wear to avoid getting the plague due to
It didn't
feeling
work.
ill out. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, and an inside man, and yeah, how are you doing, man?
Yeah, very good. Thank you very much for having me on. And what a choice of movie this is, mate. Fantastic.
Oh yeah, man. It's it's a fucked up movie, but and surprisingly, nowhere near as gruesome as most people make it out to be. But it's just more disturbing than actually gruesome, and I think that's why it's still had this power for 50
Yeah.
years now. I mean, Jesus Christ, 1974, but I think it was released in 1976.
Yeah, I was going to say, bear in mind, it's 50 years old. It would have been very shocking at the time.
Oh yeah. Sadly, Fandad Menace can't make it just now. I think he's running late. I think he's got something going on, but he said he will try to make it on later and hopefully not just before the end. So but we've got chat. We've got Nick, who's always welcome, and yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a downright fucking classic with a very
By Nick.
iconic serial killer and a family of serial killers. You can't help but love this insane lot. They are very memorable, even though the characters aren't always the fleshed out. It's the family that really make this worth watching because they're so over the top. They are so disturbing. They are so they're just so just nasty and psychotic, but they're so fun to watch.
Yeah, it was something that I don't think had been seen before, really. Not in that way. And although it was way before I was born, I would have loved to have seen what the reaction was for this film.
Yeah, me too as well. Because when he puts the girl on the hook, I mean, fucking up, people must have winced at that. They must have done. But when you watch it now, apparently there was some speculation that Tobe Hooper wanted to make this a PG-13, but he was well against it anyway. It's just, but it was just because he said PG-13 was for babies. And hey, Ray Terry, glad you managed to make it. And yeah, it'll be lit, but yeah, well, hopefully it won't miss too much. I mean, things happen, real life happens. It's you can't always help it. I mean, YouTube isn't the end all and be all of life. It's that's the thing we've got to remember sometimes. But yeah. So when was the first time you came across the Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Probably around about 10 years ago.
Wait, I'll go top to bottom there. Critical first, anyway.
Yeah, probably about 10 years ago. Surprised it wasn't sooner, to be honest. But it's just one of those films that I always meant to get round to and never got round to. And I was just like, one day I was just like, yeah, I've never seen it. I've seen bits of it before that, for sure. But it was only about 10 years that I watched the whole thing start to finish.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree. It's when the first time I watched it, I wasn't as invested in it, but I think like second or third time I watched it all the way through, and I do appreciate it a bit more now. But so Inside Man, first time you saw this movie. Inside Man.
Is it lag or is he gone?
It might be. I don't know if it's the delay or his mic is playing up. It seems to happen. You on mute. You on mute, mate. You on mute. There you go.
Sorry about that, mate. I had a little bit of a mic issue. But hopefully that's all sorted out now. Yeah. So first time I saw this actually was was in 1979. And it was my cousin because this was on the Video Nasties banned list. It actually wasn't released in the UK until 1998, I believe. That was its first release in the UK. But prior to that, James Furman, who was the head of the BBFC, the British Board of Film Classification, or censors as it was back then, he kind of was going to pass it. Because there was no nudity, there was no overt sort of gore and blood spatter or anything like that. Bad language was at an absolute minimum, if anything, and he couldn't find anything in which to use as a basis for banning the film. But he said, and I paraphrase, couldn't pass it because the overall film was disturbing, and that although the middle classes would be acceptant of this being a movie, the lower classes of cinema goer would find this particularly disturbing, and it would affect them, which I think says an awful lot more about James Furman than it does about the intelligence of the cinema going audience in the UK. But I saw this in 1979, and how I saw it in 1979 was this. My cousin was in the army, and every time he used to return home, he would have a stack of videos that were going around the barracks that all the guys were watching. Most of these were banned movies. They were on the Video Nasty hit list, or they were never released in the UK. So in 79, I got to see The Exorcist, Clockwork Orange, various cannibal movies, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So to my delight, every time he came home, he would bring a stack of these films, and this was among them. And I'll level with you, it freaked me out. I was like 12 years old. But look, my family were okay with me watching movies like this because we'd seen quite a few sort of extreme movies sort of over the years as a kid, and I was aware that a movie is a movie. And this is where I think an awful lot of people don't give children the intelligence that they really deserve credit for not being able to distinguish between a movie and reality. So so I saw this in 79, and I was 12, which so you can actually work out my age. As our American friends say, you do the math.
Yeah, I was. It's funny you said about the it being on like the banned and forbidden list, because I did not hear about this film until I was a teenager, and I was like, I was starting high school around about the early 2000s, and I was seeing like the videos of it, like saying the uncut version of the banned classic. It's
Yeah.
so it's I did come across it maybe just nearly 30 years after its release. But it's and it is really disturbing. It's not gruesome or fucking downright gory, but it's just brutal. It's just a very brutal film, and that's
Yeah.
where the real horror is. And it's also very psychological as well, especially when you come to Leatherface and his family. It's just, it's just the facts that what would happen if you were in that situation. How would you feel in that situation? That's where the real horror is.
There's a realism and a lack of Hollywood veneer to the film.
Yeah,
really puts you in the middle of the picture. Like few films do, to be honest. It's very visceral and real in that way. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why it got hit.
I think really, because this was a non-union film, this was completely independent. So there were no union rules or laws that governed the making of this movie, which is great because without those sort of restrictions, you can get away with an awful lot more than you would normally. Certainly in terms of the health and safety on this picture, there was none, I think is the word I'm looking for. None whatsoever.
No guidance for the poor chap in the wheelchair. Francis. Was it Francis?
But it's Franklin.
Franklin, that's it, Frank.
Apparently, I think I was listening to a little bit of the commentary as well, and apparently they couldn't wait to fucking kill him off.
This is one of the few films that I'll give massive credit. It really shows a wheelchair as a liability. When she's pushing him about and everything, he's really slowing her down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So from that perspective, it's quite it's was quite refreshing and brave, because these days, I don't know, the wheelchair would have bloody rockets in it and all that kind of stuff, and it'd be
Yeah, that's
empowering and not debilitating in the slightest. And even from the very start of the film, where he's trying to take a piss in the can, and he fucking falls out of the wheelchair and rolls down.
Yeah.
You know, you can,
yeah, because that truck
wheelchair's
kind
not.
of runs over this muddy puddle, doesn't it? And it just
Yeah, it's a disability. It's not. It's not labelled as a virtue or anything that at any stage. You know,
Yeah.
at no stage is like, oh my word, you know, I'm disabled and that's great or anything like that. Is, you know, you can see that it's an absolute hindrance to him. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, hey, still disabled representation in 1974. You know.
Yeah, there you go.
yeah,
But it's weird. It's weird, isn't it? I mean, it's a film that's I mean, it's a very divisive film. Divisive in as much as it divides people's opinion. I mean, there are people that, you know, it's reviled and revered in equal measure. I think it's fair to say. I mean, I happen to revere it. I think personally, I think this is the blueprint horror movie. This is it. You want to make a horror movie? There you go. Texas Chainsaw
Yeah.
really does
Yeah,
it.
this is also the reason why many independent filmmakers always seem to start off with how you can do so much more with
Yep.
less. And I mean,
Yep.
look at this. I mean, look at the budget on this and all that. Those corpses that are just being put up there as this
Yeah.
kind of art some art display. It's they still look really juicy as well. Like
Yeah.
they haven't been decomposing for so long. They're real
Yeah.
like slimy and gungy. Everything. It's not a nice thing to look at. It's
I mean, would you believe that the art director, Bob Burns, who did all of the props, made all of the props, all of the masks and the makeup and everything, his budget, his entire art department budget was $3,000.
Wow.
Even back in 1973 when they were shooting this, that's pennies, genuinely pennies. And yeah, this is a guy who really knew what he was doing. And as he said, and I think many people have said it afterwards, you know, when you're restricted by budget, your imagination starts to take over. You know, your flair and your ingenuity and your skills start to really kick in.
When you're forced to find solutions to problems, then that's
Yeah.
when, you know,
Yeah.
necessity is the mother of invention, I think is the phrase.
Yeah, that exactly that. Yeah.
and the fact they did have a good bit of source material to work on because this was based on the is it the is it Ed Gein? Ed Glan?
Ed Gein.
Ed Gein,
Ed
that's
Gein.
it. Yeah. The only thing is, what I learned about Tobe Hooper is he didn't know the name of the actual serial killers until years later, but he knew about the crimes because his parents would tell him stories about this guy,
Yeah.
and it would give him ideas for the furniture and the everything being made out of like human bones. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this shot of the sun, that was actually the first shot that was actually filmed as well. So we're actually looking at the first shot of the movie.
And then it kind of gives you a little hint of the environment straight away. Like we're looking at, we're seeing roadkill everywhere. And it's obviously a really, really hot day as well because we see him complain about the heat in the camper van.
It's another one of those films that gives the location an impressiveness that adds to the air of the movie.
You're absolutely right. I mean, it's weird, isn't it, that somewhere so wide open and expansive can feel oppressive and confined. You know.
I will give Nick's credit. The characters are very fleshed out. I think I do like Marilyn Burns in it though. She really gives it its all. But we don't really know these people that much. We don't really know what they're apart from the last who's there to see Granddad. What's her name? Just getting it up. Terry McMinn who plays Pam. And I think that's it. And they're going to see the Sword House. That's basically it. It's a little unassuming little plot thread that suddenly turns into a nightmare.
It's funny that opening shot. Just quickly, that opening shot. Apparently the first what they were going to do first was that was going to dissolve. That sun was going to dissolve into a dead dog's eye. So, but they shot it. But Tobe Hooper was so disgusted by it, and he said, "You know, this is horrible. It's actually heartbreaking looking at a dead dog." So they found a dead horse, and they were going to use a dead horse. But apparently, when they tried to move the horse, it wasn't particularly fresh, but it
Ugh.
wasn't particularly desiccated either. So it was buzzing and crawling with things, and it was, quite sloppy. So it was difficult for them to shift. So they went with an armadillo that they found, and Bob Burns took that away, hollowed it out. He got himself a home taxidermy kit, stuffed it, and used the armadillo for the roadkill on the side of the road.
Smooth on the inside, crunchy on the outside.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I probably am going to be mean on this guy because he does kind of fucking whine a lot. You kind of are hoping Texas
Yeah.
Chainsaw Leatherface just takes him out as soon as possible, put him out of his
Oh,
fucking misery.
yeah.
Bless him.
I mean, you just kind of, as soon as you meet him, you sort of think, please just stop the van, leave him on the roadside.
What's he going to do? Wheel himself after you? Just go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
it's good. It's
leave him
nice
there.
though, a refreshing sort of realistic character like that, because we've all met somebody like that. We've
Yeah.
all met
Yeah.
somebody whiny, kind of constantly complaining about shit kind of character.
He is surprisingly got more character than the others, in my opinion, as well. It's weird. He's not
Yeah.
the most
You're right.
likable, but we
Okay,
kind of
yeah.
understand him a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Surprisingly.
What was odd about this guy, the actor who played who played Franklin, he was actually acting like that with the other cast members, and he wouldn't call them by their actual names. He would call them by their character names. And there were moments where he'd say, "Oh, Pam, can you get me a soda? Can you get me a Dr. Pepper?" And they're like, "Well, hang on a minute, get off your fucking ass. You can actually walk." And he's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah." And of course they grew to dislike him intensely. And everybody said, when he went, there was much rejoicing.
Like Monty Python.
Yeah, so he's trying to go on method, wasn't he? And
Yeah, he was trying to go method. Yeah.
yeah, method can either make or break your fucking affiliation with other actors. And then, yeah, it looks. I mean, I'd want to fucking avoid him as well.
Yeah.
I want to avoid him.
It's
Yeah, and this
commitment
is
to the
Keck.
art.
He seems to be like the normal lad out of them all. But we
Yeah.
don't really get to know him that much. And we get to
As I say, the
this
driver,
guy, Disco Stew here, Jerry, played by Alan Danziger. He's kind of he does kind of take the piss out of Franklin a little bit though after his encounter with Hitchhiker Edward Neal.
Yeah.
He's like saying, he's gonna kill you, man. I gave him your zip code, your postcode, everything, your address. He's gonna kill you. Which does make me laugh. It's
Yeah.
yes. Tobe Hooper definitely does have a very fucking dark sense of humor.
Definitely. What was strange was, apparently, and this is quite unheard of, literally, 2 in every 5 pages of this script were rewrites, and they were rewriting it on the days of their shooting. So, pretty much every time, 2 out of 5 days, let's just say 2 out of 5 shoot days, um, they'd have completely different script pages to work with, including dialogue and action. So
Yeah, and I know the fact that the music as well isn't really music; it's just sounds you would hear in a slaughterhouse, which adds even more to the atmosphere. And yeah, this is where they come across to where Pam is trying to see her granddad where he's buried, and then you see this drunk who's he's saying, I've seen things,"
yeah,
and he also gives a
you're
hint as well
laughing
that
at an old
probably has.
man.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's Marilyn Burns as well as the lead character. I'm trying to get the name up. I forget the names of these. Yeah, Sally, that's her.
Yeah.
I'm not sure she got paid enough for this movie.
Oh,
I don't know what she got paid, but I'm not sure it's enough.
Yeah,
What
because
she had to go through.
she went through a lot, didn't she? I mean, there's the part where she's getting chased. She actually did fucking cut herself as well. She really got
Yeah.
some pretty big. She got cut up pretty bad, but well, not that bad, just like a few scratches. But yeah,
Well,
she really
everyone.
does it all.
It's funny because everyone, they had deferred payments, and they were offered points on the movie. And I think the only one that didn't take points was the guy who plays Franklin. And he wanted a paycheck. And his final day of shooting, believe it or not, was the bit where he's on the roadside pissing in the coffee pot. That was his final day of shooting, and he said that he knew that it was his last day, and he said to Tobe Hooper, he said, "I'm not going to do my last day unless you give me my check, because I know what's going to happen. I'm going to do this, and you're not going to pay me. You're going to defer my payment." So production had to write out a check for him. So he actually had his check, his salary, his wages in his pocket while he was pretending to piss in that coffee pot.
Did the
Jesus
film do
Christ.
well at the cinema? I've got to admit, I didn't look it up. Did it make money?
I think it had quite a limited run, didn't it? It did start to make money. Unfortunately, it didn't make money for Tobe Hooper or anyone else. Although it did make money for the mafia who loaned the money for the picture.
Oh,
So so it made money for them, but didn't make money for anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, fucking hell. I mean, there he is asking for a paycheck while everyone else is just doing their thing for fucking less.
Yeah.
But that's the one thing I didn't find out about is were most of these like old friends of Tobe Hooper as well, or were they just actors who were just
Uh,
looking for any old gig they could get?
They were a bit of both, actually, a combination of both. They were people. I think he did a film called Eggshells, I think, and a couple of people from that had helped him out on this. And some of them were film students and just students in general, acting students, and just small time little fringe actors as well. In terms of the cast, I think the most experienced one in terms of actors was the guy in the gas station. I think he was the most experienced actor out of them all. I can't remember his name, Jim something. But Gunnar Hansen, who played Leatherface, one of his friends had been cast in this, and he met up with him in Austin because this was filmed not far from Austin, so not far from where Stupenzo lives.
Ah,
And he said to Gunnar Hansen, he said, you're a big guy, do you want to be in a movie? He said, because I think there might be a part for you. He said, I'm doing this movie. I'll ask around. And of course, he asked and said, all the parts are taken up. And then his friend dropped out. And Gunnar Hansen went to see Tobe Hooper, and he took one look at him and he said, "Yeah, you got the job." And I think he was 6'4", so he's quite a big guy.
yeah. Was he? Was he? Because I think I looked this up as well. Apparently, he was very skeptical about taking a job as well because of the brutality. Until Marilyn Burns convinced him to, actually take on the role. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was when he got there, when he got on the set. I think, and I'm sure it was Marilyn Burns who he knew, and he got there on his first day, and they hadn't seen each other. They'd worked together before, and they hadn't seen each other for quite some time. I think he was best friends with her ex or something like that, and they turned up on the set on their first day, and they looked at each other and said, "What the hell are you doing here?" And of course, they didn't know each other were going to be on the movie. Um, so yeah, so they got on quite well. Um, Very few of them really sort of got on as well as that, but
Yeah,
but
I mean,
he
Gunnar Hansen didn't really have a great time as Texas Chainsaw Massacre, especially when he was wearing. Oh, am I getting mixed up with Edwin Neal when it came to the clothes stinking because they were being worn for
yeah
days?
that was Gunnar Hansen, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I think they said something like, in terms of all of the costumes, they were so worried about getting them washed that they might lose their tone, their hue, the color, or worse still, because all the costumes were purchased at thrift stores or charity shops. Um, they didn't have doubles of the costumes. These were the only costumes that they had.
yeah. Well, that makes sense as well. I mean, because it does look like these guys have been fucking standing in the heat for way too long, and
Yeah,
you kind of just want to jump into a freezer after watching this because everyone's
yeah,
sweating and
yeah,
so
yeah.
bad. You can actually smell them through the fucking screen. That's how bad they look.
Mm.
Even,
filming on
even
location in Texas is my idea of hell.
Yeah, no, there's some areas where it gets so hot you have to fucking park your car in the shade, otherwise the tires will melt. It's crazy, crazy how hot.
I think they said that it averaged whilst they were shooting this around about 110
What's that
every
in
day.
real? Like
What you mean in centigrade Celsius or whatever? I don't know. 40.
43 maybe?
Oh no, I think it's high 40s, isn't it? Something like that anyway. But yeah, 110 in old money.
It is.
Yeah, because I don't want to make them jealous.
43, exactly.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah, I'd be dead. I'm not designed for that kind of heat. I get incapacitated in hot days in the UK. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going out. Fuck, I'm staying in all day. So yeah.
Fucking hell. Yeah, no, it's like I'm a bit weird with colds. I get fucking because I get fucking bad flu or blah blah blah. But anyway,
Yeah.
everyone else does. But moving on with this film, this conversation Franklin has about the slaughterhouses and how they used to do things back in the old days. Like they would use the hammer, but they would sometimes have to use it like 3 or 5 times to kill the bastard. And
Yeah.
God, man, it's very disturbing to listen to. But
Yeah.
I, but
Well, I
it
got
is true, though. It's true.
even back then.
Yeah.
Because she's going on about it. I presume she's either a vegan or vegetarian. I don't know if veganism existed back then.
Yeah, I think they were still vegetarians, but vegan. Yeah, I don't know. It sounds like more like a modern day thing, but probably.
Yeah, I think veganism mutated later out of vegetarianism.
Yeah,
they decided vegetarians weren't hardline enough.
Yeah, that was very disturbing as well. Like they'd skin them sometimes before they were even dead. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, man. Ah.
Yeah, I mean, just that dialogue, that awful dialogue of his description is, I mean, it's quite sickening, isn't it? Really,
I know.
and that in itself, because he's not remotely sensitive to that kind of cruelty at all, or the sensitivities and sensibilities of other people. He's so unaware of what other people are thinking of it. That's when you really do start to revel in his forthcoming demise, and hope that it hurts.
Yeah, I know. It's like he almost comes across crazier than the fucking family later on.
Yeah.
But once again, it does kind of bring some sort of dark humor as well. Just watching their reactions, sort of react to him, like saying that it's. Yeah, you can tell Tobe Hooper really wanted to make the audience laugh as well as be repulsed. It's
it's a weird film. I mean,
yeah.
watching it again. I watched it again last night. It's probably about I don't know, 5th or 6th time I've seen it, and I was just like, it was like the last time I watched The Exorcist, and I was just like, how the hell was this ever an 18?
Yeah,
it seems silly now. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like this film,
yeah.
There's a tension to it for sure, but there's nothing. I mean, I'm seeing Terrifier 3 tomorrow. Now that is going to be the kind of film that's going to be an 18. This by contrast, as you say, I mean, Inside Man, when the regulators were trying to assign a certificate to it, I'm not surprised. I turned and said, look, there's nothing we can mark it down for. There is no gore. The most blood you see in this is when the dude cuts himself with a knife in the van.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. I mean, and it's funny. It's funny mentioning about Tobe Hooper wanting it to be a PG. He thought that because he said this is probably going to be a PG. I think it was I can't remember the name of the guy who was the production manager of Ron something. But anyway, I think he was the one that was trying to push for a PG, because obviously PG-13 didn't exist back then. So PG was the closest that he wanted it to be, so it would maximize it. But of course, Tobe Hooper was furiously phoning up the MPAA, the Motion Picture Association of America, on a regular basis, asking them, what we want I'd like to get an R rating. What would constitute an R rating? What is it that we mustn't do in order to push it over into an X, which back then was pretty much the kiss of death, even for a horror movie in America. I mean, X certificates over here were the equivalent of an 18 or the equivalent of an R over in the United States, but But he wanted this to be an X because he said, what on earth is the point of having a horror movie that's not an X? People will expect an X if you're saying it's a horror movie. Sorry, people expect an R with a horror movie. That's what you want, and that's what brings the crowds in.
Well, yeah, fucking hell, because people just don't want to be talked down to as kids, don't they? They want to be challenged. I mean, even if they don't know it. People
well,
want to
be shocked. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, as well. I mean,
you don't really. I mean, I wouldn't say disturbed because I'm very desensitized to horror because of the amount of stuff that I've seen over the years. But you do go to a horror movie for the most part to be shocked in some level. It's like you're always looking for that next level of disturbed debauchery and depravity. Which is why I'm going to see Terrifier 3 tomorrow.
Yeah, because sometimes gore is a funny thing. Sometimes gore can be a downright comical thing to watch. Over time, I mean, very disturbing. It's the way
watch 80s films, even some of the Terry Savini stuff. It's well done, but you look at it now and you're like, you can't take it seriously. It's just funny. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there is something about it being a very stylistic thing as well. It's like I think that's why I do like the original Dawn of the Dead. There's like a very comic book look to it. Like it kind of takes you back to those throwback comics where they would have the blood be all orange or a little bit of a pinkish red. Not exactly.
There's something to be said for implied horror as well. Absolutely. Just showing gratuitous gore all the time can only get you so far when it comes to, shocking the audience. Sometimes you do need to play with their heads. You need to affect them psychologically as well as visually. Because again, you do become desensitized to it. That's why I like Longlegs so much earlier in the year, because the work that the director, and I forget their fucking name, but the work that the director did on that was brilliant. The cinematography, the lighting, it was all showing you just enough information at the center of the screen to wonder what was going on at the at the outsets of the screen. And all of the a bit like this, but all of the sound mixing and the sound effects in the background, like the buzzing of lights and things like that, was all really driven up to put you on edge. And it's as much of a psychological effort, filmmaking in many ways, as it is a visual thing.
Yeah, I think you're right, Al. Actually, because I think horror is very much a psychological thing. It's not necessarily about what we see; it's what we think we see. It's when we fill in the gaps. We're filling in all of the gaps, and there are so many people that I've spoken to about this movie over the years have said, "Oh, what we see now, it's like the cut down version." No, it's not. It really isn't, because other people remember it. Not everybody, but some people that I know remember this as being an extraordinarily gory movie. But it's not, and nothing's been cut. It's as is. This is exactly how it was upon its release.
Yeah, do you think people might be getting confused with the sequel, because that really did go all out with the gore? I mean, you had like faces getting ripped off, everything. It was
it had hardly any of the suspense or the tension or the unsettledness
I only saw clips, and it looks 10 times more of a dark comedy than an actual.
It's exactly that. You're right. It is. He actually did. He did create that as a comedy. It was supposed to be a comedy. Even if you look at the poster, it's a really the original poster is a really good parody of The Breakfast Club, which was released in the same year.
Yeah. And I do love Edwin Neal here as well. I mean, he's basically do not fucking pick up hitchhikers, and apparently a lot of state troopers actually shook his hand, because the murder rate drops by 18% because people were too afraid to pick up hitchhikers after this movie.
Fantastic.
And he sells it as well. He sort of mugs his face up a little bit, though, like he's got some kind of, like he's had some bad stroke, hasn't he? And and he ends up becoming a little bit more. He seems to be relishing the whole slaughterhouse element more than Franklin does as well. Is like, you can't use the gun, you got to use the hammer, kill it real good.
He's what you would describe as a wrong.
Yeah.
He's
obviously is something slightly off, and it gets more and more off as time goes on.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I love this performance. I thought it was
I know
great.
he's so
brilliant.
good. He's so good, and it does crack me up. Just the look on these people's faces,
Yeah.
they're already regretting this. It's
That's real as well. I get the feeling that, like with Alien, where Ridley Scott didn't tell them exactly how the chest burster was going to come out, so he could catch a real performance. I get a feeling of a lot of what you get off those cast members may well be real, because he's really going for it in the back of the van.
You're actually right in that respect, because when they actually find him, when they see him on the side of the road, I mean, they hadn't seen him whilst he was. Obviously, they'd met him as as an actor prior when he was cast. But when he was all, dressed up and dirtied up and made up, and his greasy hair and everything on the side of the road, affecting these weird facial tics and everything. As they were pulling up, one of the characters, I think it might be Sally, says, "Oh my God, he looks weird." Um, that was her reaction. That was it.
Oh yeah, Fandad's here. Here we go, man.
Hey,
Hello.
hello.
How's everybody? Sorry for the late arrival.
Very well, thanks,
No
mate.
problem, man. No problem. And yet, Nick was just saying, didn't this movie get a remake, a sequel to a remake, and a sequel to that
Yeah.
one? So yeah, that fucking that must have been rebooted so many
2003.
fucking times. It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
The last one was like only a couple of years ago, I remember.
Yeah.
And it was fucking awful.
Jessica Alba was in one of them. I think it was the
Yeah.
2003 version.
Jessica Biel, wasn't it? She was in the
Biel, sorry.
remake.
Aye. Yeah,
I actually like that remake. I've not seen it in years, but I did like it. I liked Ali. He is very fucking over the top in it, and yeah, but you can't just beat the fucking low budget level of this one, though. There's still a great grittiness to it.
Yeah, except no substitutes.
I know. And once again, he's a fucking hitchhiker, because that's his name in this. Apparently, that's what he's credited as.
Yep.
And he's frankly like the only one who seems to relate to him as well, because he's worked in the slaughterhouses, and he's the only one who's actually seems to talking to him like he's a normal guy, even though he's got this fucking blood on his face. And yeah, it's crazy, man. It's a crazy little thing. He's got this little hair, fairy little purse as well, which is probably made from an animal he killed not too long ago. He just screams all sorts of "Get this guy the fuck out of here! Get far away from him as possible."
Yeah. How many red flags does this guy kind of
I know, right?
make everyone raise?
Yeah, even makes them aware about all the fatty stuff that they eat as well. I mean, they don't just they use everything, the head and the tongue, the boiled old ham.
When he's talking about head cheese, just makes me feel sick. Which strangely was the original title of the movie. It was originally called Head Cheese, and then its second title was Leatherface.
Yeah. Since Fandad is here, when was the
Hello.
first time you came across this movie?
Oh, here we go. Is Ray still in the chat? It was me and Ray Terry. I think we were. Well, Ray might have to correct me here, but I think we were about 14 or 15 years old. It was back in 1983 or something like that. But I think we went through the whole catalogue of horror movies at our local video store, and this was one of. This is a horrible, horrible, horrible movie.
But this was. I will just say this though, Fandad. This must have been one of the under the counter ones, because this was still banned.
No, it wasn't banned at the time. At the time we saw it, like everything was on release. It was a couple of years later that Mary Whitehouse got her claws into it and just went through everyone.
No, this never had a cinema or video release in the UK until '98.
Oh.
Not official.
Oh, I'm sure it was on the shelf, unless it was really, really dodgy. Then
I reckon it was definitely an under.
Could have been, but it was definitely, because I remember the video case on the shelf, because we went through like Zombie Flesh Eaters, Nightmare City, Dawn of the Dead.
Jesus, you must have had a really bad, a really illegal video shop that you used to go to. Jesus Christ.
No, at the time it was it was all there in plain sight in nearly every video store that we went to. There was Spit on Your Grave was there.
That was banned as well. Yeah.
All of the basically all the Italian,
the Fulci stuff.
Yeah, what's it? Cannibal Ferox, Cannibal Apocalypse, Zombie Flesh Eaters. Yeah, I Spit on Your Grave.
All good family fare.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, all good family fare. Yeah.
Oh, fucking
It's
hell,
so
man,
weird when you think that Clockwork Orange was lumbered in with all of that, and it's such a different film.
Yeah, I mean, well, that was because of Kubrick, wasn't it? After all of the death threats, these it happened during the video nasty era. So what happened was, so you had a bunch of people that were, I think a bunch of lads had kicked a tramp to death. Sorry,
Right.
I'll rephrase that. I can't even use the word tramp or vagrant, but a homeless person to death, and of course they blamed it on seeing a Clockwork Orange,
Right.
and that was their defence. So Kubrick, after that, he had an awful lot of hate mail and death threats, not just to him, but his wife and children as well. I mean, that's how sanctimonious and hypocritical these people are, threatening his wife and children, and so he decided to withdraw that movie himself. So he stopped it. He stopped the release of that movie. And in the 1980s, when we had the video nasty list, you had a bunch of people that were committing certain crimes, and they were saying, "Oh, it was because I was influenced by this film." And of course, that was their defense, and people were getting off with these crimes scot-free. They were being acquitted because it's not their fault; it's the fault of these movies. And again, these sanctimonious judges would put these would support people like Mary Whitehouse and the Festival of Light group. Give them their wholehearted 100% support in order to keep putting these movies on these lists. So whenever you have this knuckle-headed excuse of movies causing people to suddenly break out into these violent tirades,
yeah, they're
it's
already
just not
psychotic,
true.
aren't they?
Yeah, they're already there. It's already there.
Yeah, and that's coming from someone who is clearly insane. But I know, and it's fucking stupid now because it's a good way to avoid responsibility, blame the fucking filmmakers. Not these are inspiring these psychotic fucking motivations, these actions. It's highlighting them. That's the whole point. It's either to entertain or highlight them.
Yeah.
Well, it's and of course, just getting off topic just for a second, but A Clockwork Orange is the ultimate in crime and consequence film.
Yeah.
All of the crimes that Alex commits come back upon him. Every single one.
I know you kind of forced to sympathise with him as well, and he's a fucking violent, brutal rapist.
Yeah,
it's a shame that they didn't put in the. It's a shame that they didn't put in the scene. Well, there's a final chapter in the book that they never filmed.
Yes, there is. Yeah.
And it's a shame they didn't put that in because that would have added a lot of context to the affair. I feel, but
yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah, where he sees I can't remember. It's not Georgie that he sees in the cafe with his wife.
Yeah, I can't remember which one it is. But he's basically all grown up, and it just says that it's a phase, and you will grow up too. And Alex starts realizing he's like, yeah, I am. I don't want to hang around with these hoodlums anymore. I want to, I want to have a family. I want to get a woman and all that kind of stuff and settle down. And it's basically saying that, like, I know the message isn't particularly welcomed or anything like that. Like, boys will be boys; they grow out of it.
Yeah.
You turn into an adult and you become a part of society, rather than a spanner in the works of society.
Yeah.
And I would have
talked about the ending of the novel of The Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, the novel. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, there was a reason for that, and it's a very weird but very specific reason for that chapter was left out, or that epilogue was left out. That's because the American publishers, they decided not to include that final epilogue in the publication of A Clockwork Orange, and when the rights were purchased, even though Stanley Kubrick apparently did want something there, he did want a version of that chapter there. Was it MGM? I think it might have been MGM, or I can't remember who it was. MGM or Warner Brothers, Hoopers or whomever, had said no. It's that's the British rights. That's the British rights, not the American rights to the story that you've actually bought, and that was why, because it was the American rights.
I wonder why you'd leave
it was
out
interesting.
for the Americans. It's a bit.
I have no idea.
I always thought it was a smart idea as well. It just left because it left more of an ambiguity whether has he been cured or is he going to revert back to his old ways.
Yeah,
I mean, because you sort of see him with that vision of this woman on top of him with her tits out, and he's like, "I was cured, all right."
Yeah, I guess. I mean, when you think about the commentary of what the film and indeed the book is saying about society and its ills and how you cure that, and the methods by which you use to cure that, and that kind of stuff. I suppose it makes sense, but I just felt that that last chapter added so much context. These days, it'd be a post-credit sting or something, for sure.
I found out how we were able to watch all those horrible movies. There's a bit on here. It says something about when the video nasty scare started, which started in 1982. This in turn led to the Video Recordings Act of 1984. So we just got in the year before, I think. It must have been 82, 83 when we were watching all these things off the shelf. This in turn banned the film as one of the Department of Public Prosecution's list of video nasties. Apparently,
absolutely ridiculous.
72 titles on the list. I think Chainsaw Massacre was one of the first ones ever to be banned, actually.
But there's an interesting documentary on YouTube. There's a very, very interesting documentary on YouTube that's all about the video nasties, and I'd advise anybody who's into censorship or rather not into censorship to watch it to see exactly how ridiculous it was. And there was an MP, a British MP, a Conservative MP, who in this interview he actually says, and I quote, "These films are so bad. They're so disturbing. There's even scientific evidence that proves that they even disturb dogs." Genuinely.
I'm disturbed by that comment.
Yeah, utterly ludicrous.
These people are fucking nuts, man. And speaking of nuts, this guy just fucking cuts his hand in front of everyone, and I just love the look on Franklin's face as well. I don't know. Sounds like
he's not best pleased, is he?
Yeah. As soon as I got the screenshot, I was fucking pissing myself laughing. It's
I would have used that on the back of the box. This film disturbs dogs.
Yeah. This film definitely disturbs dogs.
See it, mate.
Just how everyone's still trying to act casual as well. They aren't trying to say get the fuck out. No, they wait until he starts going a bit more fucking nuts with
I would have kicked him out the back doors like
exactly.
It's not until he does that little ritual thing as well, where he sets the picture on fire, then cuts his hand when they decide to kick him out.
He gets his purse out made of an old man's scrotum.
Yeah. He's trying to fucking hustle him as well with a shitty Polaroid picture.
Red flag after red flag after red flag.
Yeah. I think they said that apparently inside this van it absolutely stank.
All
of these bodies, because they also had the camera operator, the DP, the sound guy, and Tobe Hooper in there as well. So they had 9 people in this van, all stinking to high heaven in 110, 115 degree heat.
Lord Toxic, never heard of the Video Nasty.
Yeah, I just heard about Video Nasty. Let's stream about it.
That was a whole thing.
Yeah, Did they have the Video Nasties in America? Because I don't know if they did.
No, it was only in the UK. It was only in the UK. I think the very first one. It's funny you mentioned about that Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It could have been the very first one. The very first one was actually The Evil Dead.
Yeah, because fucking Ash's
Sam
sister
Raimi,
stabbed his girlfriend in the ankle with a pencil, and they were worried that kids were going to do the same thing, weren't they?
Yeah.
In America, they've got the X rating, haven't they? So they've got like one beyond 18.
Yeah.
So
I guess there was double X as well. They used to have double X at the cinema.
Yeah.
There was I think there was U, there was A, there was double A, there was X, and there was double X. And obviously triple X was porno.
Yes, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. The good old
And
days.
Inside the Inside Man, a very horrific movie like Inner Space, but with more turds.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never even heard of that one.
Is that on YouTube?
I hope not. I hope not. Yeah. So what you're saying is they got banned because Fandad watched them. Coincidence.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But how many people here and how many people here and watching, right? Do you think after watching some of these movies, probably all of these kinds of horror movies that were banned in the UK, how many of us do you think may have gone on to become either serial killers or societal monsters? And the answer to that is zero.
I
Zero.
can't tell you, but all the bodies under my patio can.
Speak for yourself, lads.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, in the day, you could show a Psycho Care Bears, and it could.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a disturbed mind, you're a disturbed mind. It's as simple as that. And
because if people are doing things, something's already fucking wrong with their brain.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You know, there's got to be something that something got to be something wrong. A normal, good person cannot be turned, by watching.
That's right.
A horror film. If you're of a certain moral persuasion, you might be repelled by it, might not want to watch it, might be disturbed, you might even throw up or something like that. Whereas there's been scientific work that understand, different people, different mental makeups can absorb this kind of stuff and are desensitized it. Like me, very, very hard to shock me with anything in a movie these days. Particularly if it comes to gore or anything like that.
Yeah.
But as I say, it's the thing about the video nasty thing was it's treating everybody like idiots. Yeah. That was the thing about video nasty. It was like it was nanny government basically saying, we know what's best for you. You don't get to watch this.
Yeah, it was taking away people's choices to make for themselves.
Yeah.
I know it's. Oh yeah, this makes me laugh as well. Just after he gets caught and they kick him out, fucking Pam goes back to the fucking horoscopes. It's like,
oh yeah,
it's just out of nowhere. It's just straight away. It's like she doesn't even blink for a second. She goes.
Sadly, in her horoscope, she did not see you are going to be hung on a meat hook.
I know.
Yeah,
because that's basically her whole character. She's like into the horoscopes. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it was a big thing back then. I don't know. There's still people that believe it these days for some reason, but there's a few little things like that. Like you get these weird shots of the sun and stuff like that, and there's definitely a pervading sense of kind of evil in the film. Like you had the corpses on the statue church type thing. I think they talk about cemeteries and stuff. So there's definitely a pervasive sense of unease throughout the entire film before you even see Leatherface.
I think it's really kind of set up in the radio broadcast, the news broadcast that you're hearing all the way through.
Because you're hearing about all these graves getting desecrated and
but there's
robbed as well.
But if you listen to them back, I mean, there's not one good news story in there. One is about a suicide that caused a riot, and another one's about a family that were arrested for chaining their baby up, and and it's all these terrible things. And there was I think it was Tobe Hooper had said that the film was really a commentary on the breakdown of the family. That's what he said anyway. Whether it was kind of a him sort of this sort of retrospective sort of I'm going to come up with some kind of sophisticated meaningful answer to these questions. What's it all about? I think that's what he's done. I think he's kind of tried to intellectualize it a little bit more than it requires personally. But
well, yeah, it's kind of like Jordan Peterson talking about punk rock. I was like, listen, you're a very, very intelligent guy, though, but you don't need to be that analytical with punk music. It's just kind of just this fun music of going crazy,
Yeah. So many times you see it, it's like, the author made the book blue because blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
It's like, It's just fucking
Yeah,
weird.
it's Scrotty McBugger Balls in South Park all over again, isn't it? So
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. There is certainly things like allegory and stuff like that the writers do use. The reason, like 1984, the reason that
Brave New World. I mean, there's some that can be
Winston Smith uses dust on the diary is to show that his inner thoughts are going to be corrupted by Big Brother, because Orwell makes reference to the dust in the creases of the family who lives near him, whose children are actively reporting people and stuff like that. So there certainly is meaning attached to some things, but not everything. Not everything needs to be broken down and analysed. Sometimes a blue book is just a blue book, or whatever.
I mean, you can sort of see this as a commentary on slaughterhouses and the meat trade a little bit, like in a way, because
they talk about cattle and slaughter.
Yeah.
And obviously, that's what ends up happening to the humans.
Exactly.
So,
they become the dinner, don't they?
So the comparison is that the humans are like cattle to these people. They're driven like cattle are, to the house where they're slaughtered, hacked up for barbecue. I think is the Mortician album that was based on it's. But that is sort of a part of the commentary of the film. It doesn't mean that every little thing in the film is going to be a reference. There's some directors that definitely do that. There's some directors where every little thing, the auteurs out there, as it were.
Like The Godfather, where if you see an orange, something bad is going to happen.
That kind of stuff. But not always. Not in every film. Not, as you say, not everything needs to be dissected. Some things are just immediate. They're kind of spontaneous on the spur of the moment, and they're invented because they need to be invented. It might be that something's put there because they had nothing else to put there. Do you know what I mean? It's not always saying something, but it's just nice. Nice when you pick up the things that are.
Yeah,
I mean, basically, Star Wars says nothing apart from we shouldn't be making this. Same as the Rings of Power. Rings of Power says nothing apart from we hate Tolkien. So
I won't get into that. Fucking hell, it's a total middle finger to Tolkien's legacy. So what dealt?
The only thing I can think of is it's a way to try and basically invent sustaining power by having Tolkien spinning his grave so fast and for so long they can just attach him to a turbine and just power a whole city, because it's I can't put it down to incompetence. I have to put Rings of Power down to malevolence. I can't try it any other way.
Everything's been malevolent. Fucking Velma, Batman the Kid.
That's why they got cancelled, didn't it? They did a Halloween special and they went, nobody's watching this, we better cancel it.
Yeah, good. Moving on anyway. This guy, this guy, Jim Cedar. Yeah, I love all the fact that he seems very insignificant at first. Just seems like another York.
You don't see the turn. You don't see the turn coming at all.
Yeah, no, I know, because
he's so matter of fact about everything, as if everything's just, he normalizes everything, doesn't he? Like, even when he sort of ties that girl up and he's like, oh, you'll be fine, I'm just going to tie you up and put you in this bag, don't worry about it. Yeah. That's the disturbing part for me.
Or the older brother. He comes across as the guy who's kind of trying to be the parent of them all, isn't he?
Yeah, he's the patriarch of the family unit, isn't he? I mean, even though you've got grandpappy, he doesn't say much.
There's something quite strange in this that when they pull up into this gas station and he offers them the barbecue. There's some barbecue out there. There's a sign. I don't know whether you can actually see it. I don't think it's visible actually in any shots and it's got it has the family name on it, and it's W.E. Slaughter. Because the family's name is Slaughter. The family's name is Slaughter.
We Slaughter.
Although in in the sequel, they changed the family name to Sawyer, but the family name in the original is Slaughter.
Yeah, Sawyer. Yeah.
That's a Ronseal moment, isn't it?
I know. And the thing is, he does look like just an ordinary guy, I mean, Tobe Hooper wanted an actor who could come across a bit more unassuming, but still come across menacing when he turned.
Yeah,
And that's it.
yeah.
He's just this guy that's giving them directions, telling them to wait here till they can get more gas to fill up that, for the gas to arrive. And he's even coming across as a very genuine, sincere guy, offering them a barbecue to give them something to eat. And yeah, we don't know if that's an actual barbecue or if it might be some of the people that is meat from the people he killed.
Yeah.
He's always
special meat.
Oh, it's definitely.
Yeah. Yeah,
100%.
because I think Franklin eats a sausage, and I'm like, that better not be a dick. That better not be a dick.
No, it's a man sausage.
Yeah.
With caramelized onions, I may add.
I think Tobe Hooper was making jokes about saying, yeah, Franklin was eating dicks there.
Has he fell out of his trolley yet? Because that had me rolling about on the floor. I'm sorry, like guys.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no one likes Franklin. He's a fucking pain in the ass.
He just fell down that woman, and I was crying. I don't know why.
Disabled and gay representation. This film was truly breaking boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll give it credit. Like Terry McGann and Marilyn Burns were pretty fucking gorgeous back in the day. Those are two very good-looking women.
70s chicks, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can really see this is bothering him as well because he's just had his fucking arm slashed by this nutcase, and you're worried this guy's going to come back onto him. Like he's real paranoid as well. He's basically a very fussy guy who whines and worries way too much than he should. But I kind of don't blame him here a little bit. If I got slashed by some nutcase, I'd be a little bit paranoid myself. That's a crazy thing to happen.
He's neurotic.
Yeah, he's very neurotic. But yeah, those those tight pants. Gotta love it, man. Gotta love it. Yeah, and the one, did he write something on the van?
Did anybody else watching this film? I don't think I've seen this film since like the 80s. But I watched it again the other day, obviously. Did anyone else get just a feeling of absolute unease throughout the entire thing?
Yeah, I said that at the start of the show before you turned up.
Everything about it.
It starts off with very uneasy looking, disturbing imagery as well. Like the corpse is used as some kind of display, and you see the roadkill, everything. It's it's like they're taking a trip down to hell and not even aware of it.
Yeah, I mean, when I first saw this movie, obviously I was like 14, 15 years old. Put it in the VHS player, put it on, watch it. You don't do any critical analysis when you're that age.
No,
you just see what's happening on screen and become very disturbed about it. And it's probably when I said I'll never watch that movie again because it was horrible.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but it's obviously, doing this whole playing at film critic thing that I'm doing, it's kind of annoying sometimes that when you watch a film these days, it's hard to just enjoy a film now.
Oh, yeah.
Especially from the cinema.
Well, having said that, though, Al.
Fucker, sorry?
Having said that, Al, like, we complain about a lot of movies now, like, they don't have a story, they don't have characterization, they don't play heavily on the plot, and etc., etc. And having watched this, like I say, this week I watched it again and did a little bit of a sort of analysis on it, and I just thought, this is absolute shite. There's no characterization, there's no story, there's no plot, there's nothing driving the narrative forward. It's just get these kids into the slaughterhouse and kill them. But this movie is probably one of the most seminal movies and important culturally. Like, it is absolutely awful. It's a blueprint for how horror. It is a horror movie, and the performances from especially the girl towards the end is what puts me off watching it because it's so raw and gritty and real, and it's just awful. I think like Tobe Hooper's like attention to detail for this is just
it's weird. It is weird how he can be a bit forgiving with these very low-budget horrors back in the old days. I mean, you watch the first Evil Dead, the acting is fucking horrendous. Even Bruce Campbell even kind of makes fun of how bad his acting was back then.
Yeah, even the effects are very amateur looking now. You know,
it kind of has a style, though, doesn't it? It kind of gives it a style.
Red paint and stuff, But it's more about the visuals in this film, particularly because, as we've said, there are no there are no shocking gore visuals or anything like that. It's all about the ambience of the film, and that's something that Tobe Hooper is very, very good at in this.
Yeah,
and the sound direction and everything like that all works to just put you on edge. And that's the mastery behind this film, not the plot, not even really the acting, and certainly not the characters. Yeah, no tits in this. 1 out of 10. But anyway, I mean, like, yeah, the genius aspects of this film are in its construction and in what it does to the audience, not the story or the characters in any way. Because as Van Dad says, it's mediocre at best in that way. There's no character development. Nobody gets character development. Have we lost Northern? Has Hull exploded again?
but you're right. It's funny you say that, because that's exactly what Tobe Hooper said. He said that I didn't see any reason to develop the characters particularly well, because they were just fodder.
Yeah,
they were just fodder, really. That
exactly
is all
what
they
is.
were.
It's a horror movie, isn't it? At the end of the day.
Because not much really happens until Leatherface arrives, really, does it? I mean, it's mostly just these kids sort of trying to.
One of the things that he was really conscious about was not actually making them cliched characters, not turning them into cliched characters. Because now we have, in all slasher movies, there's always a couple making out. There's always a couple, maybe a couple of high school kids that are smoking weed, man. And that they're going to get it first. That kind of stuff. Yeah.
It became a trope, didn't it? You got these sexually adventurous couples, like they're dead.
Yeah.
And then you got the virgin that reads books and stuff. It's like, yeah, she's going to live. And it was every single time. And the only real investment you got out of those films at that point, because the characters were written down plain as day from the start of the film, was seeing how these people were going to get butchered. So
Yeah, once again, he does some more whining as well. While you come to the trip, Franklin. Have fun, Franklin. If I have more fun, I'll die. And once again, you're still waiting for this character to die, though, aren't you? You just kind of hope he's. But like you said, the characters are not really the strongest thing, apart from, of course, I'll call them the Leatherface family, because it's like Sawyer family or the Slaughter family, whatever. It's because of how fucking over the top and crazy and disturbing they are, and the fact
that's a realistic thing as well. That's another thing that adds to the realism of it. You don't have these character tropes in this film that you do these days. These days you do get this. You get these like Inside Man says, you get these set character types, and on top of that, you get exposition that reinforces that they're these kind of character types. So this person's this person's this, this person's this. In this is all perfectly natural conversation that happens in the back of a van. Nobody turned around at any stage and said, "Oh, do you remember that time when you were really brave and you really did this and this and this? Wasn't that amazing?" There's none of that, and that
brilliant point.
The natural feeling of the film.
That's such a brilliant point, actually, Al. A brilliant point to bring up, and that's because that's exactly what Tobe Hooper had kind of made a point of doing or not doing. He didn't want it to be, the dialogue to be expository. He didn't want anything to be exposition leading on to anything, giving any kind of background of these people that was completely unnecessary. We didn't need a context. These were just, lambs, or for want of a better word, cattle to the slaughter.
These characters could be anybody. They're blank slates in a way, aren't they?
Yeah. It's the humanization of the cast into cattle. To the point where one of them gets chopped up with a chainsaw, and one of them, while laying on the table like a piece of butchered meat, and the other one literally gets put on a meat hook. Like the pictures, the Polaroid pictures that what's his name, the hitchhiker, gives out earlier. That is the eventual fate of most of the cast.
Yeah, and they seem to have some kind of cultish mentality as well. The way they have that shroud of bones on the floor like that, it's just like, what the hell who the hell is doing this, and what are they into? What are they trying to achieve here? But obviously, they've come by the house to looking for that waterhole to have a swim in it, but they get lost, and they eventually do find this lonely house, and that's when it really does show just what kind of environment they're in right now. They're in a very, very hostile, unforgiving, disturbing environment, and they're doomed not to make it out alive.
Yeah. It's funny that when they come across this house, they actually refer to it. The cast and crew refer to it as the Chainsaw House. It's known as the Chainsaw House. But when they actually, yeah, when they started shooting at this location at the Chainsaw House, so they were dressing everything and had all the crew there and everything. The guy who owned the house, who was loaning it to the film company, come back after a few days and said, "Oh, I thought you was only going to be here for 3 days." So 3 days. We're here for at least 3 weeks. He said, "Oh man," he said, "I've got a big problem." And I said, "What's the problem?" So he took Tobe Hooper through the back of the house, and he said, "That over there," and he'd just been cultivating 2 acres worth of marijuana. So he had these. So he had 2 acres of marijuana plants, and of course, at that time, any possession in Texas, in the state of Texas, was a felony. So any kind of possession, and it was a minimum of 3 years to life. So they were all soiling themselves, thinking that the whole, not only is the movie going to be shut down, but everybody involved is going to be going to jail. And they said to him that, look, okay, we'll ignore it. We'll pretend we don't know anything about it, as long as you don't let on that we do know. And the guy said, yeah, no, that's cool, but you can take as much as you like for your own use. So of course, that's where this myth grew up, that everybody that was on Texas Chainsaw was stoned all the time, which wasn't the case. Although the script supervisor did used to make famous brownies, apparently, for the crew.
Oh, I've got to have been stoned. Yeah, because I mean, there is something a little bit hippie-ish about these people as well. I know it's like the 70s and that everyone was dressing like that, but the 60s changed a lot, and this is really disturbing as well.
This is horrendous. Go back to that picture of the tooth, Luke. I just want to say something about that tooth that he found.
Yeah, I know. It's like that's the first time this house is fucking bad news, but they're going it anyway.
Again, there's more than a few red flags.
Yeah, but what I'm saying from a production point of view is that tooth had a filling in it.
Yes.
So, like that guy from the art department, I was listening on the way home to Inside Man was talking about it. He only had $3,000 or whatever, but he put it to very good use. There's even skulls in the basement, and you can see the fillings in their teeth. That's like attention to detail in my eyes. That not a lot of, well, certainly not modern directors would go to that extreme. As trivial as it sounds, but yeah, really good.
Well, weirdly, plastic bones and plastic skeletons were actually more expensive than the real thing. So what Bob Burns did was he bought these bones, these skeletons from someplace in India.
Jesus.
So all these human remains, all these skeletons were coming over from India. And obviously, some of them did have fillings.
Actual,
yeah.
Oh, that explains that then.
Yeah,
it does make it more disturbing as well. The fact that these are like real fucking bones of animals, and they probably had to get them from some. Was it legal in India or was it the black market?
apparently it was legal, and it was legal at that point to import human remains.
Nobody
you could
cares
do.
over there, do they?
So I think he had 2 full human skeletons, an assortment of other bones. He had a couple of horses. The other animals, I mean, the other bones were from animals, and they were cats, dogs, horses, and cows, that were fashioned into various pieces of furniture.
Yeah, and I like the reference as well, going back to the hammer, because the first one to get killed from them is with a hammer.
Yeah.
And it's not a nice death to watch as well, because even though it's not totally gruesome, it's just watching his body jerk on the floor like that when he hits him. It's just
It's great, isn't it? It's awesome.
It's so disturbing as well. I mean, yeah, you got to disturb the audience like that. It's not downright gratuitous, but it's enough to make you feel very uneasy watching it. And
you know what? For the most part of rewatching this film, I had exactly the same feeling as I did when I first watched it as a teenager. That shot, I don't know if you can go back to it, Luke, but that shot where he opens the screen door and we are put inside the sort of near the staircase, the first shot there, that was just a couple more.
Yeah.
I think it's the next one.
And it sticks out as well because it's bright red while everything looks a bit more muted, doesn't it?
Go back one more. I think it's.
Go back one more. Here we go.
The next one. Where's he at?
Have I passed it?
There. That one there.
Just
instantly. One more. Yeah.
Right.
There's the film.
Yeah.
Forward, not back.
Go forward.
Back. Yeah, okay.
Sorry, man. Yeah, next one.
Yeah, fucking hell.
There.
Can't get the help.
You just can't get the stuff. Well, you get what I mean. As soon as we're thrown into that room, and that's, for me, that was just claustrophobia and just fear, because we as an audience we are trapped in that house. We don't know what's coming next. If it's the first time you've watched this film, you've got an inkling of what's coming next. But like that for me, everything about that scene was disturbing, right down to him, like his twitching body and stuff like that. And then when Leatherface pulled that sheet metal door across with such sort of veracity, or whatever you want to say, just like slam it up. That's it. You're done, mate.
Yeah, there is something very clumsy about Leatherface as well, because it's kind of like he kind of like this guy who was kind of bumbling at the same time. He's not exactly very.
You're absolutely right. I mean, there is something very more slightly childlike about him. I think.
There's an innocence to Leatherface, which is really off-putting, because like he's doing these horrible things, but he's innocence in aspect.
Yeah, he's a child, and I'm really glad that Fan had mentioned about him with the door, and the is it Kirk, isn't it? It's Kirk, the victim, the first victim. He's twitching. I mean, that was something that he did, his convulsions and everything on the floor. That was his choice. It wasn't directed. It wasn't a directed. By Tobe Hooper. That was his choice. And of course, when he takes him into that room and he pulls over that metal door. So Gunnar Hansen said that he was so pumped up at that time that the adrenaline was really, really running through him. He said he didn't mean to do it like that. He meant to just open the door and close the door, And as he shuts the door, he shut it with such force he didn't realize. But he shut it so hard that it actually jammed the door. So he was stuck in there. So the door was stuck in its frame. So he actually couldn't get out.
I thought you were going to say chop the guy's legs off or something.
One thing we kind of learned about Gunnar Hansen's characterization is that he's kind of mentally handicapped. He's not very good at expressing himself. That's why you see the different masks he wears. Like when he wears the woman, he's like playing the mother of everyone, isn't he? The housekeeper of it all.
Yeah, that was actually that one was actually one of the executive producers, and it was a man, although it's supposed to look like a woman. And what happened was that how they got the idea, Bob Burns got the idea for the masks, for the Leatherface masks.
Yeah.
He knew somebody who was a plastic surgeon, and what they used to do was take casts of the women's faces in those days. So he thought, right, okay, I'll ask my plastic surgeon friend if he can maybe cast some of his patients, or he'll let me cast some of his patients. So he got these women, started casting their faces in dental alginate. It's like a mold making material. So you put the dental alginate on, and then you cover it in plaster bandages. And after about 3 to 5 minutes, it starts to cure, and then you can pull it off. And then you pour plaster in, and you make what's known as a life cast. Once you make the life cast, you've got a plaster positive. So then he cast that again, and then he poured latex in it, or rather, he painted latex into the molds. And then what you got was loft insulation. You know, that fiberglass insulation that we have in the lofts, which is kind of a sort of an off yellowy browny sort of color. And he was pulling that off in strips, and he'd lay it in, and then he'd paint in another layer of latex, and then he'd put some more in, and then paint in another layer. So when it hardened, it actually, or when it cured, and he took it out, it shrinks. So there's a kind of a shrinkage to it. This is a weird distortion and a very strange pallor to it, a very strange color, to latex. Because when latex dries or cures, raw latex, it goes this horrible kind of sort of browny color, and looks like desiccated skin. It looks awful. So you had three of those, two of which were women, and the other one was the executive producer. And of course, they're changed depending on his mood over the course of the film.
Yeah, because I think the characterization was there is no personality under the mask. That was the idea of talking with Tobe and Kim when they created the character. They said he was to put on the masks to express himself because he himself can't do it. That way we
Yeah.
tried to create him. There is nothing under the mask, which is what makes him so frightening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tell you what's quite disturbing about his teeth, because he wanted Gunnar Hansen wanted these false teeth, right? So or rather, the character was called to have these weird teeth. So he went to his dentist, and they already had a cast of his teeth. So the dentist could actually make up a set of these false teeth to go inside his mouth that would fit perfectly over his own. And he thought, they're going to be like these sharpened fangs. But instead, what the dentist did, instead of creating these sharpened fangs, he actually put baby teeth in. So they're all odd shaped baby teeth, but he made two. He sort of sharpened them twice, so they each baby tooth, had two little fangs. So it actually looks like a saw. If you look at his teeth, it actually looks like the serrated edge of a saw, which was perfect,
Yeah.
but weird, really weird.
Yeah, and I think that might be why it adds a little bit more to some kind of innocence to him as well. Because, like you said, he's like a child. He's like a child, isn't he, who can't express himself. So I think that kind of makes it work more. And God, this really just shows that they're in a really fucking bad place, and they need to get the fuck out. But it's too late for her, because there's this really fucking horrible scene where Leatherface grabs her and he hangs her on this hook. And you never see the hook go in, but you know it's there, and it's still horrible to watch. Yeah, and I think she was like pulled up with some harnesses made from maxi pads, but it was still very painful. And so when she's screaming, she's still screaming for real, but she wanted to use it just to make the scene work.
Yeah,
yeah.
There's a shot. Sorry, there's a shot before where she's outside, and where you see the swing. And the camera the camera's really low, and it goes under the swing. It's a really, really interesting dolly shot. So it goes beneath the swing, and then of course you have the house sort of looming in the background, or sort of looming in front of her. So really, it's a really weird kind of look. So that was that shot. Apparently, when the DOP was working on 1941 with Spielberg, or rather, he was visiting the set of 1941, and Spielberg said, "Oh, I know you. You did that shot in Texas Chainsaw." And Spielberg abandoned shooting for an entire day to sit down with the DP to have him explain to him how he managed to commit that shot to film, how he managed to do that shot. And Oliver Stone worked with the guy on JFK, or rather the guy from Texas Chainsaw, the DOP on Texas Chainsaw, worked with Oliver Stone on JFK. And Oliver Stone did exactly the same thing. He's gone, my God, he said, that's my favorite shot in any movie. It's just, how did you do that? And he had to explain again, how that dolly shot was done. And I didn't realize how many filmmakers were really really revere this film in such a way, in its technical prowess as well,
Yeah, because it's a good way to make the audience feel very cohesive without showing anything.
Yeah.
And once again, you don't even see this as well. You don't even see the guy getting sawed up. You don't see blood
You see
splatter.
her reaction, and that's all you need.
Yeah, you've got a like a double, whatever it's called. You've got her on the hook, which is horrible, and then on top of that, he's gonna cut your boyfriend up in front of you and in front of us. But like you say, there's no gore. We know what's happening, and that's enough to disturb anybody. It's a very disturbing film.
Yes.
Yeah, and this Disco Store, I like to call him. His character's got a name. What is it again? Just looking through it now.
Couldn't tell you.
Must have passed it. Jerry, that's it.
Jerry,
yeah, and he's we get a little bit of personality from him though in this. Out of all the scenes he's had, he's kind of like the smart ass as well. He kind of takes the piss out of Franklin for being worried about Hitchhiker, saying, "Oh, I give him your address. Yes, he's gonna kill you, man. He's pissed off at you, man." Yeah, and you kind of like him as well because I kind of liked him as well for it. But yeah, we kind of move on because it kind of just repeats the scene as well, where he's just paranoid that the hitchhiker's going to find him and kill him. But we do get a little moment as well where she kind of looks like she has probably only asked him on this trip because she felt sorry for him as well. She didn't want to come across like an asshole towards him, and she's kind of regretting it as well
because he's an asshole.
Yeah. It's like she was probably trying to get. He's probably pissed off that he's in a wheelchair, and she wanted him to get out of his funk. But now she's kind of regretting it. She kind of looks like she wants to. She wishes she left him at home.
She wants to kick him down the hill.
Yeah, one thing, are they supposed to be brothers and sisters or something like that? I don't know. That's the kind of vibe I got from them.
Yeah, I got the feeling.
Sally and Franklin are, yeah.
Yeah, and these are next on the chopping board, literally.
Mm.
Oh yeah, because I mean, in the end of the day, like you said with Tobe Hooper, they are all just there to get killed, aren't they? We get a little bit of something to give them, but and this is supposed to be very ambiguous as well because she pops up out of the fucking freezer, but then she dies again. I was like, what?
Yeah,
I did not remember when I rewatched this earlier. I did not remember that scene until recently.
It's a disturbing scene. He gets clobbered, and that girl who you think, oh, good, he's let the girl out of the chest freezer, and then no, you're just getting shoved straight back in.
I know. Apparently, the actress even says that she may have woken up and made it out alive, but I don't know. It has kind of confused me a little bit. But we kind of see that Leatherface, without saying anything, he's worried as well. He's starting to worry that he's fucked up here, and he may be bringing trouble onto his family.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of always got the impression that it was like, who are these people? Where have they? Why are all these people coming into my house? This kind of, and he's sort of defending his own territory. It's like a home invasion. Almost, and anyone who's invaded his home, he is literally acting in defense of that. Because he doesn't. He's such a naive character. It's just doing what comes naturally to him. Just defending his own territory.
Exactly. He's bound by the slaughterhouse code.
That's right. Yeah.
Come into my house. I dare you.
Yeah.
Isn't this the part where he opens the curtains and he's looking out and he looks all flustered to see if anyone else is going to turn up in his house?
Yeah, no, because I always got that because he does show a lot of emotions without saying a word, and
he knows he's going to get in trouble because obviously the more he kills that go missing, the more likely it is that there's going to be investigations and blah 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 blah. So
I'm not sure whether he does know that, because he is so. I don't want to use the R word because I know that particular word does tend to get a lot of people.
Lance suggested a good one earlier.
Yeah, just use the S word. It's my favourite.
Yeah. Well, Lance does actually fucking advise that anyway, to use it as many times as possible. So
it's allowable.
Fill your boats.
Are you? Northern is fine. Not quite, not yet.
Yeah. And obviously it's night, and no one's come back, so they're gonna have to go out and get them. And he gets this fucking argument with a flashlight as well, and it might have been a smart idea to leave him behind just for now, because he's gonna be a burden.
Yeah, I absolutely would have just left him there. I mean,
I know, right? Because he's got the lights with the truck. He can probably he can probably be there in case his friends come back, even though they're not. And she could go out looking for them. She's got the flashlight, but no, he writes his own fucking death certificate here, because he gets fucking carved up in that wheelchair, and it does kind of add a bit more of an intense situation, because he can't do fuck all about it. He can't.
Gets cut up. Great.
Unlucky, fatty. Poor lad.
Yeah, fuck it, yeah. He's definitely been a pain in the ass because you can't roll him down the fucking hill or anything. And here comes Leatherface, fucking carving him up in his wheelchair.
Just jumps out of the bush, doesn't he? Frightened the shit out of me. I forgot all about that.
Yeah, that's how you do a jump scare as well. Just keep it to a minimum. Use it when it's worth it.
It's Marilyn's acting here that's so great, though. She's running away. She's proper terrifying.
It's not really that bad, really, is it? I mean, we've seen a lot of these amateurish actors where in these low-budget horror films, and you can always tell they're very inexperienced, but these do seem a little bit more competent compared to most.
She absolutely nailed it for me.
Yeah, she fucking kills it.
Especially the final scenes.
It's awful to watch.
It's like she's going to need therapy and lots of it.
Me too.
She really did cut herself on these branches as well. But I think because Gunnar Hansen was actually very good at catching up to her, he had to kind of look like he was fumbling around cutting branches, even though they weren't really getting in the way.
Actually, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned that precise scene, because exactly what he was doing, cutting up all the branches and everything, because they decided that they were going to split the chase into two, so it'd be her running, him running, her running, him running, because obviously he's waving the chainsaw around and everything, and he caught up to her, and he decided that he was going to waste a little bit of time because she couldn't get her hair free from the branch. So he decided that he was, as they were shooting, that he was going to, waste a bit of time by cutting up branches and everything. And she was genuinely frightened because he was gaining on her with the chainsaw. And she thought that, my God, this feels just a little bit too real. She finally got her hair free and managed to get away. And obviously they completed the scene. Then they did another take where he's chasing her, and he's supposed to make a little bit of a turn in the woods. So because he was wearing these giant boots, these big cowboy boots, that made his height something like 6'7", 6'8", he slipped with the chainsaw going, and this was the full-blown sharpened chain. They did have another one that was a blunted chain, but and he slipped. The chainsaw went up in the air. He's fallen on his back. He couldn't see the chainsaw coming towards him. He rolled over into the into the fetal position on his side, and the chainsaw came to rest right next to him where he would have been.
Oof.
So that was one of many close calls, apparently.
Like you said, no health and safety in sight.
No,
I was
no.
going to ask if they actually had a chain on the chainsaw, because they
Yeah,
usually.
I was thinking the same as well because but I'm glad you mentioned that as well. So now
Yeah.
we know, because the bits where he was gaining on her as well, and she was getting scared because her hair was tangled up. Was
Yeah.
that like on a real chainsaw as well? In
That
that
was a,
scene?
that was the sharpened chain on the chainsaw. So they had.
Yeah, so yeah, I can see why she was fucking scared. He was gaining on her, and she was close to being fucking mincemeat.
So what they had was they would remove, if they removed the clutch, right, for the distance shots, they'd remove the clutch from the chainsaw, which means that the chain itself wouldn't move. You'd get all the smoke and you'd get all the revving and all of that kind of stuff, but the chain itself wouldn't move. But they would only do that for long shots or distance shots. Whereas the closer shots, you could have the blunted chain. But apparently, it noticed. You could actually see that it was a blunted chain. So they favoured the sharpened chain. So with all of the little barbs in it and everything. So for the most part, they were using the sharpened chain.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what I love about these low budget movies, because they didn't have a lot of these, more advanced people, professionals working with this film. I mean, they had to make do with what they had, and you always get these great stories of what they had to do to get this made, all the fucking risks they were taking as well, all the ways they had to get around a lot of red tape as well,
Yeah,
because and I do love to see as well. This feels very Anthony Perkins Psycho as well. You got the
yeah.
grandfather. You think he's dead as well. You think he's just a rotting
Mm.
corpse, and then you got the dead grandma. I'm guessing. Just this
Yeah,
fucking.
that's the grandma. She wasn't actually in the script. She wasn't supposed to be there, but Bob Burns decided that he was going to have a grandma there to show that there was some kind of matriarch, some female figure in the family.
Yeah, because they do actually convince us as a family as well when you see them. And yeah, this is a really intense chase as well. I mean, fucking hell,
Yeah.
she really fucking dives out. She's obviously doing these stunts herself as well, because they can't afford stuntmen. They got to make do with what they do.
It was actually, believe it or not, um, it was the script supervisor. She actually stunt doubled um, Marilyn. She stunt doubled the character of Sally, because they didn't have money for a stunt person. Of course, the script supervisor, the one who made all of the nice brownies, yeah, she was actually her stunt double, unofficial stunt double. So she did a lot of the
Ah,
falls and all of that kind of stuff, because the actress was so beaten up all the way through this movie, and there was more to come. She had so many cuts and bruises.
I mean, if you eat enough brownies, you can probably fall out of a window and not feel it anyway.
yeah, no.
Yeah. Which apparently she actually did say that this was one of the times where they actually had the brownies, one of those where they had the brownies, and Tobe Hooper had said, right, you're going to be going through this window, and she said, oh, I'm falling out of a window. Yeah, cool. And
Be a bit of a problem for direction, isn't it? Right, act terrified. There's a guy with a chainsaw right behind you. What? Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
all they had
was
all
the
all
glass
they had.
using window sugar glass as well, because I don't know if that costs a lot to get fitted into a house.
Um, it's quite time consuming actually with sugar glass, and you have to get it absolutely dead right. It's very, very difficult to make in um it's difficult to make cheaply if you don't have the right equipment. It really is. They did actually use real glass. It was real glass.
Jesus.
And but when you see her land, I mean, she does actually, you do see her coming out of the window, and she does do a fall, but she's only falling 4 foot onto a mattress, and of course she's got glass all around her. All they had was an old mattress that they found out the back for her to land on, and she only got her toe to the mattress, so she did
Wow.
kind of injure herself.
Like I said, she definitely didn't get paid enough for this. I don't know
No.
what she got paid, but it wasn't enough.
I
You
don't think
sign
she
up for a
really
low
got paid
budget
anything.
movie, you're taking a ton more fucking risks, aren't you? I mean, it's
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
But I hope she recovered quickly and it didn't fuck her up too much, because that would have been very tragic if that had done. But this is where we start to reveal that the old man is related to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre as well. It's it's a good little reveal as well, because he seems like just a normal, humble guy, but he's really fucking psychotic as well. He's just like,
you don't see it coming. The turn is great.
I know.
She starts looking around at this barbecue and sort of puts it together herself. She's like, "Oh fuck."
Yeah, no, he actually seems very sincere as well. Like he doesn't want her to be afraid, but it's like, you're taking this woman to get fucking killed and eaten. Of course she's going to be afraid.
And notice how like she's placed between sort of us and him, and he's in front of the doorway. It just sets off more sort of claustrophobia and that fear.
Some of the work with angles and stuff is great, especially in the house.
Oh yeah.
She's trapped, but like we're even more trapped in that room. I don't even think there's a reverse shot, is there, Gary? In that
I don't think there is.
I think it's just that he's blocking the doorway, and that's it. And is that barbecue human remains in the?
It has
Yeah,
to
it's
be.
got to be. It's got to be. Yeah.
Like,
Franklin was eating dicks. He was.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What, the night before he came here, or yeah.
Yeah, awesome. This is also where we reveal that it's revealed that the hitchhiker is also part of that that family as well, and it's been him that's been desecrating all these fucking corpses, and old man is really angry about it as well. He's like, he's trying to be the guy in charge, trying to keep everything in order, and he's like the disobedient and hitchhiker is like the disobedient troublemaker, isn't he?
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, he's obviously trying to be the father figure, because he's berating him like he's a disobedient child.
I rather got the impression they're all inbreds, basically.
Yeah, but when he's actually hitting both her and hitchhiker with that broom handle, he's really doing it. That's real. There's no. I know they had a foam covered, like a foam rubber covered broom handle that apparently didn't look real. It bent an awful lot, and he was sort of pulling the blows every time he was hitting her with it. And Tobe Hooper had said, you've got to really hit her, and he just didn't want to. He was absolutely devastated when he was hitting her. Devastated after all the shots were done. And he hit her so hard or so many times that she had a black eye and she was knocked to the ground, and she did actually faint with the pain.
Jesus.
Oh, Jesus Christ, man.
That's dedication for you.
It's crazy that as well, because from what I've seen of her, she didn't seem regretful of the experience either, though. She actually seemed to be happy to be part of the film.
Yeah. It's unusual, isn't it? Somebody playing a victim who isn't playing victim.
Yeah.
I know. Marilyn Burns is a tough. She's a tough cookie. She got the living shit kicked out of her, but she made it through that.
Yeah.
Took one for the team.
Yeah.
She took quite a few for the team.
She certainly did.
Yeah, did she do anything else though? Because I don't think I've seen her in anything else after this. Because she seemed like she could have done more. Sorry?
I can't recall seeing her in anything else.
I'm not saying she's the greatest actress ever though, but I don't think she was bad. I think she could have done maybe a couple more projects.
Is it Marilyn Burns?
Yeah. Marilyn Burns, yeah.
A few bits.
Texas Chainsaw.
A few bits in here, they're here and there.
There's a movie in 2013. There was Texas Chainsaw. Was that some kind of sequel reboot? Because she was in that. She's
that must be another. Yeah, it must have been. Yeah, I remember that coming out, but I never saw it. It was
She's down as playing another character called Sally. Whether she's reprised a role or what, I don't know. Sally Hardesty, it's got her down as
weird.
2013.
Film.
Uh,
Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation. Jesus Christ, it's got Matthew McConaughey in it.
yeah, that's right. And Renee Zellweger.
He's Zellweger.
Yeah.
She's been in a few. She's been in 14 movies right up to 2017.
She's done a little bit. She was
The
in a film
Return.
with, Future Kill, which, if I remember correctly, the artwork from that is a H.R. Geiger piece, and I think I might have seen this. It's like a post-apocalyptic cyberpunk type film. It's not very good.
Was
Director
that
Ronald
film?
W. Moore. Future Kill.
What's the name of the movie? Future Kill. Yeah, that is Giga.
Kill.
Yeah, that is a Giga poster. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Ah, I've seen that.
Yeah, fucking hell. Texas Chainsaw 3D. Yeah, The Next Generation, Future Kill, and a Helter Skelter film as well. Damn.
Oh,
Yeah, it's probably not been in anything really, really fucking big though. But yeah, she's still got a name in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. She's still well known for it though. So there's something, isn't there?
yeah.
But I don't like the fact that the family as well. They're kind of like they're trying to. They do try and convey like they're a proper family, but they're kind of like the twisted nuclear family in a way, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they just want to have this nice little fucking dinner all round together, but at the same time, the dinner is people. It's just so messed up. It is.
How old would you say the actor that plays Grandpa is?
I don't know. I'm guessing he wasn't even that old. I would not be surprised.
It was 20.
I thought so.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm looking up a little bit about him as well. Apparently, he had a fucking hard time in that makeup as well, especially in the heat.
Sweaty.
Yeah, sweating like fuck. It took 36.
That when I saw Return of the Jedi at the cinema at the weekend, and you got Ian McDiarmid as the Emperor. It's like, that guy doesn't even look that old now. That was 40 odd years ago, you know.
Yeah.
He's still going and stuff. So yeah, they've got young people to play old people quite often.
Yeah, and apparently they had to get all the scenes shot at once because of just how fucking bad it was being underneath that makeup. I think it's about
I love why they just keep putting the hammer in his hand and he keeps dropping it.
That's horrible as well, because like you say, he keeps dropping it, but he actually catches her with one of the blows, and that's
he does, absolutely.
Oh yeah, and I think he actually, I think that was for real as well. I think she actually
with the mask on, he probably couldn't see very well, so it wouldn't surprise me if he did catch her.
But yeah, he was 20 years old at the time of filming, playing a 113-year-old man.
I know, man. It's
he looks like they specified the actor age.
He did well. Had me convinced.
I know, because he looks like a rotting corpse. I was like, fucking hell, how is this guy alive? Skin's decomposing to me now. Unless he was just meant to look like a very old guy, but the makeup looks a bit more rubbery. I don't know. Yeah. But it is a very disturbing scene as well. Imagine just being trapped in there with these fucking weirdos who'll see you as this piece of meat to feast on, you know, and they're mocking you as well. They're mocking you for the sheer terror that you're having to endure.
And it's
Grandpa Sawyer in the 2013 film as well.
Yeah,
came back to reprise his role.
Yeah, look, there's hands as well on the armchair. And who was it that reprised the role again? Sorry,
the guy who played Grandpappy, John Dugan. He come back and played Grandpa Sawyer again in the 2013 film. Nearly 40 years later,
when he was actually 130.
when he was 60. And he was in nearly everybody who was in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre turned up in the Chainsaw Texas Massacre: The Next Generation in a cameo role. This guy was cop at hospital. So there you go. I'm not going to say that's a reason to watch it, but there you go.
Yeah.
puts us in that POV shot as well, doesn't it? So
Oh yeah, Spoon. You see them surrounding around, and
Yeah.
they're looking at you. It's almost like you're
Yeah.
trapped in there with them.
And he's got a sort of made up face this time as well. So he's wearing like the mother's kind of face almost.
Yeah, he's being the housewife this time, isn't he? But he's wearing this fucking suit as well, and oh god, the face with the lampshade as well.
Yeah,
proper Ed Geenish sort of thing there.
Rank.
Yeah.
I did that when I was working at Warlord, because I used to pour resin for them, and the latex that we used to make the silicone we used to make the molds. Quite often you'd have some left over and you'd stretch it all out, and I slapped it over the top of a lamp and then put holes in the mouth in it just to disturb people. Fun.
It is they are surprisingly touching as well when they ask the granddad to kill her as well. It's like they want to do something nice for the granddad, don't they? Let him have let him be the one that kills. You know, give the old man something. It's like they're sort of psychos, but they do care for each other in a way, don't they? Still depend on each other.
Whenever any of these modern producers and directors and actors mention strong female characters, tell them to go and fuck themselves and then watch this movie. Like it is like the very definition of a strong female character. Fucking hell.
She gets through the other side, but you know, nobody gives her anything. Nobody turns around and tells her that she's brave and strong and amazing and men are bastards or any of that kind of stuff.
No, she's scared. She's really fucking scared.
But that's what would happen, and that's one of the things that I liked about the new Hellboy movies. It's got a woman in it. Not that that's a bad thing or anything like that.
Oh god!
As soon as a woman's added to a cast that wasn't originally in the story, you're just like, oh god, it's going to be a girl boss. It's going to be, but no, she gets scared. She gets vulnerable. She cries and stuff like that. And you're like, not that you want to see women in that perspective, but it just gets so boring watching these women be stoic in the face of extreme adversity. And you're like, that's just not going to fucking happen. Like even a dude would be like, oh fucking, and it's all just so tiresome these days. So it's nice to see something different.
Yeah, you're right, and of course, you have, there are so many female characters that are, the stoic heroes, but they still require validation from the other characters.
It's a trope, isn't it? Now, I mean, it is an absolute trope. You see it all the time. No more than in Disney stuff, in my opinion. Like Disney Star Wars and Disney Marvel, you always have a scene where they turn around and you go, "Oh, you're amazing." You're so amazing. It's like, show us you're amazing. Don't tell us. Now
Sally is amazing.
Yeah,
this character is amazing. She's truly amazing.
Yeah, because you don't want to get the fuck out of there. You do. You want her to escape.
I mean, could you imagine?
She's a survivor, isn't she? That's the whole thing. She's a survivor.
Can you imagine, right? Any of us actually being in this situation, right? As grown men. Rather than a young woman being in this situation. I mean, how we would I would absolutely, I don't know what to do. Although she does freak out, she's still got her wits about her as a character. She still knows what she wants to do. And it's a character that requires no validation. She's not looking for validation from anybody. She just wants to do what she needs to do, and that is that.
Yeah.
And going back to like we haven't had really much characterization. We haven't really got any sort of affiliation to her or empathy at all, and yet here we are. It's like, we can see what she's going through, and we're going through it ourselves as well.
Well, one of the great things about not characterizing or not over characterizing a member of the cast is that you can put yourself in their shoes so much. You can identify with them so much easier than you can that somebody's got a very strong personality that might not gel with you. And you're just like, well, I don't get. But she's just a girl. She's just a girl. This could be anybody, and therefore you can, you can put yourself in that position. You can empathize with her so much more than you can these. It's like, I think, was it God, what's her name? Emily Blunt. Turn around, if she sees a script these days and it says strong female character, she throws it in the bin.
I know. Did you watch the Fall Guy? Someone was saying, let's get away from these toxic men. Emily Blunt knocks her the fuck out. I know, and
I love the Fall Guy. That was a great fun little film. That was a fun movie.
Yeah, I
Gutted
thought
it didn't do better at the
alright.
cinema than it did.
Yeah,
It's a
is
shame.
that on DVD yet though?
It was definitely out on streaming. Definitely out on streaming. I don't know.
I think
about
it's on
Yeah.
VHS.
Why do I get the feeling it might do better on Blu-ray? I don't know. Sometimes it happens, doesn't it? These films,
Yeah.
good films that don't do well, end up doing better on the video market. It's
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes it happens.
There's been whole movies that have had their entire legacy based off of sales like that. I mean, Blade Runner did terribly at cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Shawshank.
made all of its money on
Yeah.
DVD sales and stuff.
Shawshank
Shawshank.
Redemption did the same.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Dread,
yeah.
another one.
Dread was the reason. Yeah. Dread.
Oh, Dread, man! Why didn't we get a sequel to that?
Oh, this-
Oh,
Still
myriad reasons.
I know the licensing is Rebellion is an absolute pain in the ass, but if ever a film needed a sequel, it's that one.
Did badly at the
Fall
box office.
Guys out on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah,
we'll talk about
sorry,
Indie Department, shall we?
Yeah, I found out he was about to say something as well. What was it, man?
I've no idea.
Now, this scene where they're cutting the finger, apparently they did have a tube with fake blood, but it kept getting clogged up. So, in the end, they actually did slice a finger, didn't they?
Yeah.
During the scene, it's like,
Yeah.
Really?
yeah,
When we watched this last night,
just to get the blood leaking out of
paid
it.
enough for this. She didn't know the half of it.
We're just gonna slice your finger open, love.
I know,
Crack
I
on,
mean,
lads.
fucking hell, Marilyn Benz went through she endured a lot of punishment and
Like
still,
for the love of the art. Good God.
She's a fucking trooper.
I know,
Yeah.
I give her credit, man. Rest in peace, Marilyn Benz. It's been 10 years since her passing, but fucking hell, I think she deserved better in her career. She really
God,
did.
yeah.
She took the punches.
Jesus.
Yeah. No complaining either. I mean, obviously, I'm sure she must have complained, but she, like I say, she wasn't one of these people that sat there and played victim.
Or anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to look up more about it as well. Yeah, because I think it said more about her reaction to it though, but I'm not finding it. Where the fuck is it?
It's weird. You have to wonder what her reaction would be watching the film. I know a lot of actors don't watch the films that they're in, but like after filming it all and doing it all, and then watching this and getting the kind of very visceral audience perspective on it all, I wonder what she thought. I don't know if she ever wrote anything about it, but
She probably didn't want to go through it again. She probably never would.
Yeah, well, I mean, it would seem very real. I mean, it must be very odd seeing herself in that situation as an actor.
Yeah.
And as I say, she certainly doesn't seem like one of these pretentious actors. So I would have thought she would have a very genuine, response to it.
Yeah.
She went straight to HR on the Monday.
What happens these days, you know.
But she does finally escape, and you kind of breathing a little bit of sigh of relief, and you're just like, run, get the fuck out.
I love this whole sequence. This last 5 minutes of the film is so good.
Yeah, Hitchhiker's just fucking slice. He's just kind of dancing around before slashing at her.
He slashes her back with that.
I know.
Razor.
But she keeps going though. She keeps going, and he fucking runs him over as well. It's like,
as well. I presume they used a dummy or something. But it's really good.
Did they actually run him over then? Just given what they did.
He actually got ran over, then he got back up, put his body parts back together, and just went about his day. You know, actors were strong back then. Actors,
they actually tied his shoelaces together and put him in the middle of the road and said, right, you can easily run away from this.
Yeah,
and that was it.
Well, he ran away, didn't he? The truck driver, he was brave. You fucking asshole.
Yeah, he let her in. And that actually fucking he actually lets her in though, doesn't he?
Yeah, I suppose.
Gets out the other side and runs off. Like
only because she picked his shoe up off the road.
Right, and this I actually forgot happened as well, because he actually throws something at Leatherface and he accidentally cuts his leg. Yeah. I did not remember this happening before.
He falls over the chainsaw and it hits him.
It was like a tire iron and knocks him over, and then he actually does slash his leg with the
and apparently he had a metal plate under his leg with a big meat bag on top of it filled with fake blood, and when he cut through it, he still caused himself a lot of pain because of the friction burns.
Jesus Christ, they didn't hold back on this movie, like, did they?
No, They never do on these old
Listen,
low budget
yeah,
movies. I
true.
mean, they're really fucking taking the punches in a lot of these movies.
Yeah.
They really are.
We're just going to chop you up with a chainsaw. Is that all right, mate? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, yeah. Go for
Yeah, I
it.
mean, he didn't actually slice his leg though, but the fact that he was causing burns on his leg though, through
Yeah.
you know, 'cause it's metal on metal, isn't it? It's still,
Yeah,
he was still. That is a genuine painful scream as well from him.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd
I
be
know,
fine. He's got two.
I know they tried filming the, you know, the final kind of chainsaw dance. They did try filming that at dawn, but it was the wrong kind of light, so they decided to film it at dusk. So as the sun was going down, rather than the sun coming up. But it looks beautiful. It's a
It
beautiful
does. I
shot.
mean, it just makes Leatherface look more disturbing as well. I don't know
Yeah,
how it does it, but it does.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just
I know.
it's pure mania, you know.
Mm.
Stand there dancing with a chainsaw.
And
It's
then the
iconic.
two of them, the two of them drive off in the Chevy truck and leave that truck driver behind.
Ran off.
Bye.
That's how I'm getting there, though. I'm pretty sure I saw him get in the front seat, the passenger seat.
No,
I
he's
know.
No,
No, he didn't.
opposite direction, complete
he's
opposite
gone.
direction.
Yeah.
Legend has it he's still running.
Still running.
Yeah. Well, he got him back. He probably got him in a good shape. He's like, yeah, I need more fucking maniacs chasing me in order to lose weight. Who knows? But yeah, the dance that you, I think when I first watched this, I imagined him. He's so angry. He's doing an expressive dance just to express his emotions. You know, he's a very arty kind of person.
Yeah.
And then the movie ends. There isn't really much happening in the movie to really go on, but there is a lot of great stuff behind the scenes that makes it so fascinating and interesting.
Yeah.
Tobe Hooper, fucking hell.
It's a film that's more than the sum of its parts, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
like I said,
I think definitely his magnum opus, this one.
yeah, because I don't think I've ever seen anything that's from Tobe Hooper that can be considered equal.
Eaten Alive is a bit of a. Is that Tobe Hooper? Yeah, that was Tobe Hooper. Eaten Alive. That was a strange one. What was that? What was that? Is it Funhouse? Was it? That's a great shot, that, isn't it? I love that picture.
Yeah,
I know it is. It's so
love that
iconic
picture.
as well. It's just,
Yeah.
especially when the picture looks really fucking grainy as well. It just
Yeah.
it looks.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
doesn't look like
they
a
shot
movie.
it.
Yeah, it looks like something
They
from a
they shot
documentary as well.
It does. It does. I mean, they. It's funny you say that. They shot this. The whole movie was shot on ASA 25 16mm. ASA 25 is a really low grade 16mm, and normally, you know, a decent grade of 16mm would be ASA 100, but ASA 25. The reason it was cheaper, they needed cheaper film stock. The reason it's cheaper is because the lower the grade of film stock, the more lighting you need to have.
Yeah.
So they were really pumping out with the lighting in this, and they were you know, cranking up the stops or actually minus the f-stops on the camera to try and get a decent bit of light into the lens. So they were only for the most part using like a 10mm lens on this. And
They
I
would
think
have
for the
probably
first
pushed the film as well, wouldn't they?
yeah
Is that
yeah
what's
and
called? Where you
for
sort of
the first I think 2 weeks of this or first week of this, the stuff that they shot was completely unusable.
yeah.
They got it back from the lab and it was garbage. Well, not that it was garbage. They couldn't see it. You just couldn't see what was being shot. And they said that they had a lens issue. You know, there was some kind of, or the lenses went bad, or the lens went bad, or something like that. They said. But yeah, so it was ASA 25 16mm, and then it was blown up to 35 for theaters. So what you've got is a 35mm print of a low grade 16mm film.
Wow.
And it really adds to it.
Yeah.
I think without doing that, you know, they did it through necessity, through budgetary constraints. But having done that, you know, it adds such an enormous amount of
Just
atmosphere to
makes
this
it
movie.
look so unclean as well, which is like
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something very disturbing about when it's shot like a documentary. It's another reason why Last House on the Left is so disturbing as well. I mean, because you know
it's very un-Hollywood like, isn't it?
It's like you are watching these poor women getting brutalized in that movie. It's so disturbing. I mean, I even have a hard time watching that movie as well, but I still respect the fucking power it brings to you when you watch it, though.
But you feel kind of dirty after watching a film like this, don't you? You kind of feel slightly soiled, you know.
I love it.
Yeah, me too.
And like you say, the grainy aspect to it makes it feel sort of unclean and unsanitary in every location you're in. Like you've got a slaughterhouse, you've got an actual house that's full of filth and dirt and bones and rot and just disease, and it's just an awful environment to be in. And we're in there ourselves with the characters.
Yeah.
It's so immersive. That's why.
Because real life is dirty. Real life is gritty. It's not clean. It's not polished. It's not
always
buffed up.
amazing.
You know,
Star Wars was always great. It had a lived-in feel to it. The original.
You can see dust all over the spaceships, don't you? I mean, the Millennium Falcon is described as a piece
fucking
of
disgrace.
It's junk. It's falling apart. Everything is run down, covered in dust, sand. Nothing looks clean and pristine and Hollywood. And I much prefer that look. These days, you get a very sanitized look to a lot of movies, and it doesn't work. It's not great.
It's too shiny.
Yeah, exactly.
There's one little detail I've noticed in these old movies as well. Like whenever you see these movies with characters and they're wearing trainers or sneakers, the trainers always look scuffed up and dirty. While if you see a modern movie now, the footwear looks brand new.
That's because it's product placement, and they need to make it look good.
It is, and it's not realistic. I mean, shoes get worn in a bit after and a lot of people wear trainers for extended periods of times of the day more than shoes. It's one of those things, and clothes have to look a little bit like they've been worn in a little bit for a while.
That's one of the things. Like what I've seen of things like the new Rings of Power. It's like they're doing this battle scene. They're meant to have been fighting for God knows how many hours and stuff like that. And although they've got that blood smeared on their arm and stuff like that, it all just looks too new. It looks like it's just come out of the prop cupboard or whatever, and they just don't get that visceral reality that I like to see in films. And this film's got it in spades.
Yeah, and I don't always mind new horror films, but the older ones always leave an impression on me more. Though, it's like you said,
sure.
Yeah. Like I said,
I didn't realise that Tobe Hooper directed a chunk of the Salem's Lot 1979 movie. Not movie, but the TV series thingy.
Yeah, the 2-part TV series. Yeah, that was Tobe Hooper. Yeah. What's the other? I think it was Fun House, wasn't it? He
did Fun House. He did Eaten Alive.
Don't forget Poltergeist,
and Invaders from Mars.
Invaders from Mars, and of course, Life Force as well, wasn't it?
Life Force. That's got tits.
Yeah, I need to watch that. It's like I need to watch more Tobe Hooper. I think the last film I watched with Tobe Hooper was a film called Mortuary, and it was absolutely terrible. It was years ago, but it was absolutely fucking terrible. It looks like a very crappy, safe horror film you'd found on some very low-budget horror channel back in the day.
2005. His last film was 2013, and I think I've seen that one. It's called Gin, and that's not great.
Yeah.
But no, he did some good stuff back in the day. I need to watch Eaten Alive. Here's the synopsis for Eaten Alive.
Yeah, I've got this movie.
Psychotic redneck Judd owns a dilapidated hotel in rural East Texas. What is it with Texas? Where he murders people who upset him or his business, and then feeds their remains to his large pet crocodile in the swamp beside his hotel. I need to see that.
It's Robert England. It's Robert England.
Yeah, before he did Freddy Krueger and that. Marilyn Burns is in this one as well. So she must have had a good fondness with Tobe Hooper. They must have been very fond of each other because it looks like she has worked with him a few times.
It's obviously a favourite of Tarantino's, and he's because he ripped off one of the lines from it and put it into Kill Bill, and
Okay.
the line is, "My name's Buck, and I'm here to fuck,"
Yeah.
and that's from
Every
it.
film of his is off an old movie, and
Yeah,
I kind of respect the fact that he doesn't give two shits if people know
yeah,
that or not. He
Yeah.
wears his influence on his sleeve.
yeah, yeah. That's Eaten Alive. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
also got
It's
the woman who played Morticia in the original Adams Family.
Oh,
Isn't
yes,
she?
yeah,
that's
we're
right.
just looking
Yeah,
at it
yeah.
now.
Caroline Jones. Caroline Jones. Wow, cool. Yeah, no, I'll have to check that out. Eaten Alive. That looks good.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
so
so
she's
yeah, I've just been looking up about
brilliant.
the finger cutting scene. Yeah, because apparently it clogged up, and they said the reason why they were doing it is because at this point we were insane, and Tobe Hooper just wanted to get the fucking shot done as soon as possible.
Mm.
Yeah, because I
Well,
mean,
imagine you're shooting in that heat on location, and you can be like, yeah, just fucking do it. You know,
I know
I
because a
think
lot
you're
of
not
a lot
going
of
to
them
want to
were
do multiple
suffering as
takes.
well. I mean, Gunnar Hansen was suffering a lot because the clothes he was wearing, he had on for fucking days, and they were stinking, and no one would eat next to him and
Leather
everything.
apron at one point, isn't he?
Yeah,
Like a butcher's apron, so can't take
I
blame him.
know.
But this what's unusual about movies at this time, at this particular time. Independent movies at this particular time. Everyone seems to be pulling together. Everyone's on the same side. Nobody's rebelling. Nobody's fighting against each other. Nobody's jostling for a position. No one has.
Union.
There's no egos flying around. Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
you're
'cause
right. There was a solidarity and just sort of like a British do or die attitude towards
Yeah.
getting it done. You know, because I guess maybe these kind of films, they weren't prestigious. They weren't going to get you acclaim and awards and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. You know, you're kind of making it. Right, you might hope to make some money out of it, but certainly a lot of it. Like when it comes to Tarantino, the thing I love about Tarantino more than anything else about Tarantino is that he makes movies because he loves movies.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
thing that I love about Tarantino most.
And that's
Every
the
single
only
time that he makes a movie is because he loves making movies.
and that's the only reason you should be making a movie. And
Yeah.
and there's a real issue with, and I'm not talking about all independent British filmmakers, but a lot of small independent British filmmakers, and I do just mean British. And I'm sorry if there are any independent British filmmakers out there that are listening to this that feel they don't fall into this category, but
There goes your sub count, Northern.
yeah, there is there is an amount of them that get into it or want to get into it because they, one, think they can write, two, think they can direct, three, think that it's going to make them rich, four,
Mm.
think that it's going to earn them some kind of plaudits and give them some kind of fame and all the trappings that go with it, right? And they don't think of anything else than that. It's purely ego driven, right? And for the most part, I'm talking about the first time, very, very amateur, egotistical ones that maybe have just gleaned all of their filmmaking knowledge off of, maybe making of documentaries and think that this is how the industry works.
Mm.
There are so many of them, you would not believe it. And these are the people that unfortunately are the bane of the real independent filmmakers' lives because they
Mm.
make them look bad.
Yeah.
Um, all they're after is, I want to see my vision, and everyone has to abide by that. Now I know that's fine, but also you have underlings, people that want to maybe produce something or maybe be an art director or have a position on one of these films. And they
Yeah.
think that they're two pennyworth and complete amateurs, and it's the amateurs that are the problem. Complete amateurs, and they think that their two pennyworth is actually worth more than maybe the director's vision or the writer's vision. But there is a mass of these people out there that are under the impression that they can make movies, and they really can't. No, I think it was W.H. Jordan who said something like, everybody feels that they have a novel in them, at least one novel in them, but for the most part, maybe that's where it should be kept.
Yeah,
in them,
Yeah,
and not
Gaff Mendes
letting
kind
other
of
people. Yeah,
kind of highlights that, doesn't he? Because he's
Yeah.
a guy who really thinks he has, who has these skills, but he doesn't. It takes the piss out of that very well.
Yeah, and it's this thing called the Dunning-Kruger effect, and the Dunning-Kruger effect is somebody who believes that they have an ability and they have no idea that they have zero ability, but they have confidence in what they think their ability is. They don't know that they are completely incompetent. They fail to recognize their absolute incompetence, and
that
their
explains
ego
Rings of Power.
drives. Yeah,
Oh
and
yeah,
this is right. You're right. This is right across the board. This is right across the board. But we did,
where people are being thrust into positions that they're not ready for, and not taking the. I mean, look at this. Like for example, Penguin at the moment, and I've not watched it, and I'm really close to just going fuck it and just watching the 3 episodes that I've missed and then watching it weekly rather than waiting.
Watch it, man. You come on our streams if you want.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, to be honest, because it'd be nice to be part of something as it happens rather than catch it all at the end like I tend to. But you look at Penguin. So Penguin is apparently great TV. I'm not seeing it, so I can't say, but everybody's saying it's great TV, great character motivations. You understand within the first episode what everybody wants, what the motivations are, where the characters are going, what their trajectories are. Fantastic.
That's how you make
TV.
You have been watching it. You've practically been saying what we're fucking saying, because that is basically how you've basically summed up everything that me and Toxic I
watch your guys' stuff. So yeah, I mean that's the general consensus from it. But you look at that, and that's made by, am I correct, HBO Max?
Yeah, but you can always sail as everyone sees me, hearty.
No, but I'm saying the creators of it are HBO Max.
Yeah, they really do seem like people that know what the fuck they're
HBO
doing.
Max know how to make television. They know how to make television. They have showrunners. They have experienced people. They've made great TV shows over the years. Like I think Spartacus was theirs. Certainly Game of Thrones and all that kind of stuff.
Spartacus
was Stars.
Oh, was it Stars? Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
And then you look at your Amazons, your Rings of Power, and certainly your Disney. And they don't know how to make television to save their fucking lives.
Could I just add a quick footnote into that, if you don't mind me saying?
Yeah.
Which may actually kind of piss on your strawberries slightly here. And that is that right, HBO Max HBO Max are doing the Harry Potter TV series, right?
Yep.
Now, HBO Max when they made the announcement in 2022 that they were doing the Harry Potter TV series, they announced that it was going to be a very faithful adaptation of every single one of J.K. Rowling's books, 1 season per book, right?
Yes.
So, subsequently, they've appointed a showrunner, and they've appointed a producer and executive producer.
Yep.
And just recently,
I think I know what you're going to say here.
One of the writers, Andy Greenwald, has done an interview, and he has said that I know that the audience, and I am paraphrasing slightly, I know that the audience would like to see a faithful adaptation and everything. That would be the easy thing to do, but that's not where I want to go. I don't want to go with this. I don't really want to use the source material. He said, I don't want to use the source material. And the reason why is because I've never read the source material.
Oh, fuck off.
I've never read the books. So, and these are the kind of incompetent nincompoops that are now making television, and there is an agenda there. I think I'm not even going to mention what the agenda is, but there is a very particular agenda there.
Everybody that doesn't watch it is going to get blamed for its demise. Then, not the fact that it's utter shit.
Hands up! I'm already a bigot.
and he it. I don't know whether you saw that he also said that that he was kind of denigrating J.K. Rowling, and he said, she doesn't really want a property change, because she owns it, and that belongs to her, and it's and it was like, well, hang on a minute, he was criticizing her for having created a world that is much loved by hundreds of millions of people by creating these wonderful books. And
I thought she had executive
she does,
decision rights.
yeah, that's right. And she apparently has the final say, right?
Yeah.
She has the final say right up to the point where, and let's face it, everyone has the right price in this business.
Right, yeah.
I'm sure she'll be protective over it until she is offered the right price, and I hope that she doesn't have. I really hope that she doesn't have a right price. Now, I've only just recently read the Harry Potter books. I've made a point over the decades, over the years and years and years that they've been out there, to completely avoid the Harry Potter books, right? Because I didn't want to be part of that. That kind of sheep mentality, that sort of whole following. I don't like followings. I don't like being part of that kind of thing. And I thought, right, okay, I'll give them a go. And I have to say, they're amazing pieces of literature. They're so beautifully written. They truly are absolutely amazing books. And then I decided that I was going to look at the films. The films apparently are only have 15% of what's in the books.
Yeah, there's a lot
So
missing.
you have 85% of the book hasn't made 85% of each of the books haven't made it to screen, which would be a great idea to do a TV series. And if HBO Max do stick to that, and I hope that they do, I hope that they get rid of this Andy Greenwald, because he is going to be a massive burden to this project. And I just hope it isn't going to be another one of those intellectual properties that is basically set, it has its timer set for destruction, and there are just so many of them. There are way too many of them that are out there for, way too many people that are out there to destroy these IPs.
All of the franchises are now pretty much Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who, Lord of the Rings, and that's one that I thought would never fall. I never thought that we'd see something like this for Lord of the Rings, with this lack of consideration and this lack of this deliberate spite to undo the professor's work. So, although I have no attachment to Harry Potter, I always consider it to basically be a mix of the worst witch and Roald Dahl at best, especially for the first few books. For those people who do have a lot of investment in Harry Potter, I imagine they're clenching their buttocks quite tightly, because anything that gets remade these days, and that includes the Penguin, I would have gone into a baseline level of it's going to be shit.
Yeah, but then again, HBO have also done Velma as well, so so there can be a mixed bag.
That's a vanity project that basically, I think what happened is she made 2 seasons in advance and got paid for it, and they went,
Mindy
okay,
Kaling.
Mindy Kaling, I don't believe she did 1 season and then got paid to do another season. I think she made 2 seasons at once, and then they killed it.
I mean, I wish that they'd actually left Texas Chainsaw alone. I mean, I can understand that Tobe Hooper wanted to do a sequel. I think he did that with Canon Films, I believe. I think it was part of his Canon deal. So he did. I think he had. It was Texas Chainsaw 2. Then it was Invaders from Mars, and then Life Force. So he had I think he had a three picture deal with them. Yeah.
Massacre 2, 86 Canon Films. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I could have left it at 2. I mean, I loved it. It doesn't do anything to diminish the impact of this film. Having the sequel that's more of a comedy. It doesn't do anything to diminish it. I think it's still one of the most powerful films that in this genre that there is. But I just wish that they would stop with the remakes and reboots and reimaginings and all of those kinds of things with something like this. We don't need it. We have these.
original fails. That's one of the problems. Is original IPs that they're not that Hollywood won't take risks. Everything is a remake or a sequel, quite often to something that's 30 odd years old. Who thought we'd get a bloody Beetlejuice sequel?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of imagine that. Well, let's face it, we don't even have to imagine it. You can see some of these executives when they get into these studios, when they get their senior positions in these studios, they look down at all of the different films, the ones that have done well. They look at the figures, right? What have been our best ones? What are the ones that are the most revered? Right? Okay, we put those in two columns. The ones that are most revered, we'll put that in the revered column. Our best box office successes. We'll put those into another column, right? What do you think is going to be the cheapest ones or the best ones for us to do to try and revive one of these? What can we make a sequel to? What can we remake? That's how their little minds work. And they are little minds. They really are little minds because they can't think outside of, they can't think of originality. They can't think outside of franchise.
Well, it's like
It's that
Joker.
franchise mentality.
Joker never needed a sequel. Never needed a sequel. It's completely self-contained, but it made $1 billion on like a 50 million budget, I think it was. And yeah, it was always going to get a sequel, and it's been a massive disappointment. But it was always going to be, but that's because there's no integrity. It's just a case of just. I'd like to believe that and the thing is, producers have always been about like, can I make money off of this movie? So I understand that, but I'd like to believe that there are elements of Hollywood that still have integrity and still believe in visions and stuff like that. And I'm not talking about activism side of visions, but I mean a director's actual vision. Director goes, look, I've got this idea for even a writer, like a screenplay. I've got an idea for a film. Here's a film that I've had an idea for. I have a vision for it, and not just producers green lighting stuff and just like, we can make money out of this. This is the new hotness and all that kind of stuff. And I think integrity is the word that it sums it up. And I think Hollywood just doesn't have much at the moment.
No, and that's why this film will last another 40 years or 50 years.
Yeah,
it will. This will last. This movie will last.
The definition of a classic, isn't it?
It's
That's
so
the whole
simple as
definition
well.
of a classic.
And
the best films are simple. This is something we've said time and time again. The best films are simple. Look at Star Wars: A New Hope, the first Star Wars film.
Yeah, just a good old-fashioned space opera with good guys versus bad guys, and that's it. It's
free act, the perfect free act film. Very simple story. Done. Doesn't try and make any grandiose statements beyond good versus evil and that kind of stuff. And the best stories are simple ones, simple concepts that people can identify and emphasize with.
I think you could actually go. You could go way back to directors like James Whale, who obviously Frankenstein, but the old Dark House. This kind of classic kind of horror story. A storm, people turn up to a house, need shelter, etc., etc. And we're going back to the 1930s, for Christ's sake. So we're going back to the 30s. So we're kind of like, almost up to a 90-year-old movie. 90-year-old movies that will still stand up. The concept of which will still stand up today. You don't have to. You don't have to remake these things, or if you're going to use the concept, but use it in an original way.
I mean, what was the last truly original story idea that anybody can think of? The last one, I'd say it's probably something like The Matrix.
But then again, it's based off of comic books, isn't it? So it's in terms of something that, in terms of something that's not based on something else.
An original idea, a screenplay that somebody wrote that's an original idea for a film that actually sort of did well. Because even the Joker is just a remake of like King of Comedy. It's bits of King of Comedy and Taxi Driver slung together to make a film.
Yeah, and it's also
the last time I walked out of a cinema that I remember and went, wow, that is going to change cinema. That is something I've not seen before.
I'll tell you what I think of as far as being sort of wowed and thought, wow, that is an original concept. Where on earth did that come from? Was the Pitch Black sequel, The Chronicles of Riddick, because everything in that movie, I just thought was like,
yeah, I love that film.
Yeah, what were they
I think
called? The
June and things like that out of it.
Yeah.
But I think that's a criminally underrated film. I really, really enjoyed Chronicles of Riddick.
Yeah, I thought it was absolutely awesome. Yeah,
I might have to give it a go because it's been a long time since I've seen the sequel. I like the first one. When I watched the sequel, I was like, "Is this a sequel to the same movie?" Because it feels so much more different.
It was completely like out of the blue. Like, what were they called? Was it Judi Dench was playing? Was it Elemental or something? And then you had these necromancers or the like undead people.
Yeah. Yeah,
and you got Carl Urban on there as well.
Necromongers, I think they were called.
Necromongers, yeah. Like, what was that? I've never heard of them before.
A Furion,
never seen anything like it. Yeah,
and it brings back Jack from the first series, first film, and she's called Kira now.
Yeah,
she's been in jail, and she went to jail because I really, really, genuinely enjoy Chronicles of Riddick. Had a great video game based off of it as well, and I kind of think it got underrated. The scene where the guy commits suicide by walking out in the searing heat, fucking amazing.
Yeah,
he sacrifices himself, because he doesn't want to be controlled by the necromongers anymore. So he walks out in this thing. I'm not sure I would say it's massively original, but no, it's a good film, Fandad. You're right, and it was one of those films that wasn't afraid to take risks. I think so. Yeah, it was original in some ways. I definitely agree with you. Yeah, it's a good one, that.
I think for me, and it's going back a few years now. For me, the one that I thought, wow, this is going to change things. So it's a game changer. Unfortunately, it did change things, but it changed things for the worse, because everybody just started jumping on board and copying it, and that was the Blair Witch Project. Which I think is
the found footage thing. I mean, I've only seen that film once, and to be honest, I think I might want to keep it that way. I did like it, but watch it the second time, I might not feel the same way as I did then.
Yeah, I just thought.
I mean, there's been a lot of stuff that comes off the back of that, isn't the whole camera? I remember like the Cloverfields of the day and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And even you can even, I suppose, cite things like the Paranormal Activity and all that kind of crap as well. Although the first one I kind of liked. I kind of liked it. I didn't love it.
What's that? Cloverfield?
No, Paranormal Activity. Yeah,
I only saw the second half of it, but
watch those films.
Yeah, I did like the execution a little bit, but I know.
They're not for me.
I would lose that. It would lose all that.
Yeah, but I mean, I can't think of anything that, if I'm honest with you, that's been a genuine game changer. I mean, that's one that I thought might have been a game changer, but like I say, it sort of changed things in quite a negative way because it was all this,
shaky cam and stuff. I think people just saw it as a cheap way to make movies. More than anything else. And as I say, for me, I genuinely think it would be The Matrix was the last thing that penetrated the zeitgeist in a new and original way and endures. Christ, 25 years later, how scary is that? What about you, Northern? Can you think of a film that's genuinely been original and sort of done well and hit the cultural awareness in that way?
I don't know, because I've seen so many films, and when I think a film has been original, it's like, oh, this is a take off a much older movie, but they're just adding something new to it. So I really can't think. I mean, I would have said The Matrix a while ago, but then you've got like Ghost in the Shell as well, which was also probably taking inspiration from films like Blade Runner.
Well, bear in mind that Ghost in the Shell was actually a 1986 anime, I think.
Originally an anime. It's I cannot think off the top of my head because all plots are like rehashes. I
didn't mind it though, actually. That film, I didn't think it was that bad.
Ghost in the Shell is great. The first one is brilliant.
What's her name?
Moto, is it?
Yeah, no, the didn't have Scarlett Johansson in it, did it?
Scarlett Johansson, yeah.
The remake did, yeah.
didn't think it was terrible, to be honest.
I
Original
quite
Ghost in
enjoyed
the
it. I saw
Shell.
that at the cinema, and I quite enjoyed it. I've never seen the original, but
1995, later than I thought.
yeah.
The classic manga era. Akira was 88. Ghost in the Shell was 1995. Yes, that and the sequel, the two original anime films, are very good. Very good. Very good deep philosophy and thinking films, which is something that the Japanese do very, very well when they're not doing panty shots and maid outfits. You know,
Yeah, they're very horny, those Japanese
mate, I
animators.
saw it first. I saw it firsthand in Tokyo, and it's kind of worrying in several ways. Like when I went to Tokyo, I was like, "Oh my god, Japan's amazing! It's fucking brilliant. They've got their heads screwed on. They really have. Community minded, no litter, fucking no home. Oh, this is brilliant." And then you just see all the maid outfits lined up on the streets outside the clubs. You're like, but they do have that fascination with schoolgirl maid outfits.
Yeah, no, this is. Yeah, because there is a lot of these very horny schoolgirl dramas.
This is a lot of worrying stuff.
Well, yeah,
it's going back to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This is a fan example of if you want to start getting into movies, then you should really look into what Tobe Hooper had to go through to get this made. And because
I think if you like horror movies, you have to see this film because it's got a immediacy and a way of generating tension and putting the audience right in the middle of it all. That
true.
I don't actually think many films have done since.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely. I would actually agree with all of that, especially what Northern said. Actually, this is a filmmaker's film for anybody wanting to get into film, and anyone who wants to launch a little bit of or even if it's just a little kind of passion project, just because you might want to say that you want to make a little horror movie just for your own fun. This is a great example. This is the one to go to. This is the go-to movie. But it definitely is a filmmaker's movie.
I mean, as bizarre and macabre and horrifying as this movie is, it doesn't use a lot of gore, but there's a lot of sort of awful torture horror moments in it. How would you guys compare this to, say, the likes of a more modern horror film that's probably took a lot from this movie, the likes of Hostel?
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to mention that.
I'm not really into the whole torture porn thing. I mean,
no, completely.
For me, it just doesn't compare, does it?
No, it doesn't compare at all. But I knew you were going to mention that. I knew you were going to cite that movie. Because it was the reason I knew you were going to is because that's exactly where I was going, and I thought you're absolutely right. Yeah, great minds. But it's
I mean, obviously those set of films up the ante for the modern audience or whatever you want to say about it. But
like I said before, you turned up. There's something to be said for suggested horror, and this is suggested horror. You don't see about up. You don't see
about this, because there is something about disturbing shit just forming in your mind, even though you're not actually in it.
Your mind can do more than what your eyes can do.
I mean,
exactly.
Any of you lot seen The Hitcher? Remember that scene where Jennifer Jason Leigh's like
that is the worst thing. I was no good for that, like, because she wasn't hard to look at, and you knew what had happened to her. And I was quite distraught.
And that's the thing. There were some people that were still convinced that they saw her get torn in half, even though it's never even in the movie. It cuts straight away to the next scene.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I would actually label that as being psychological gore. It's what's in our head. It's those gaps, those gaps within our blinks. Within our kind of closing our eyes and turning our heads away. It's those gaps are filled in with our own psychological gore. Hostel does zero for me. I can't remember the name of the guy. What's the name of the guy who directed it? Tarantino's mate. What's his name?
It's gone out of my head.
Oh my god.
Bugger.
Rodriguez, is it?
No, it's not. Eli Roth. Eli Roth. Yeah, I don't like his stuff at all.
No,
yeah, I'm the same. I am the same. I never really got the appeal with Eli Roth, in my honest
opinion. Didn't like Borderlands.
He's kind of
Oh,
gone
yeah,
to
he
the polar
directed
opposite,
that,
hasn't he?
didn't he?
He did
Shit.
for some reason. I don't know why. Yeah, Hostel was just it was shock value. It was gore porn.
Yeah.
Which I kind of like the underlying idea behind it. It was like these people are captured and then hunted by rich Americans who are paying to hunt human beings. But it was so much like, oh my God, look at us doing really horrible things to, which is what the Saw films degenerated into as well, unfortunately. And I really like the Saw film, the first Saw film, because the first Saw film was very good with doing some of that suggested horror thing.
Yep.
And keeping it all in your mind. And that was fantastic. And then as time went on, they just got more and more gore porn like, and then you had all the copycats of them as well. And I was just like, I am so fucking bored now.
Literally word for word what you've just said there, Al. I had a discussion talking about this with my son this evening, just prior to coming on, talking about that. And we virtually said exactly the same that you've just said.
Great minds, I guess.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. It's just I'll watch the most schlocky 80s, like the Fulci stuff like that. The most gore-ridden, schlock going. But I don't take any of it seriously. I mean, it's like watching an action film to me.
Yeah.
With Michael Bay with explosions, it's just Tom Savini doing gore effects and everything like that. I don't put any value beyond that in it. I don't hold it up as it doesn't shock me or hit me. And even when I go see, as I say, Terrifier 3 tomorrow, I imagine it's going to be a few. I'm like, fucking hell, but it's not going to, like that kind of thing, because I'm quite desensitized to that kind of stuff. But when it comes to suggested horror and what you think is going on in your mind, and when a cinematographer or a director can genuinely play tricks with an audience's emotions and not just hit them in the face with gore, then that for me is true horror, and not just gore porn or schlock or whatever. That's true. Psychological horror that affects you, that kind of thing, where you're like, oh, wow, and there is very little of that these days. Very little.
And this is such a pure example of psychological horror. This movie, it's just the purest version of psychological horror. You don't have to see, all these terrifying things. We have the set dressings that have given us an idea of the situation and the kind of human beings that this family is. We know exactly what they are just by the the furniture, by what's on the tables, by what's hanging from the ceiling, and so we know what they are. We know exactly
there's no
who
exposition.
they are.
There's no scene with a sheriff or anything like that that's telling you about them or anything like that. It's leaving the mind to put a lot of the pieces together, and some of the this is one of the great things, again, going back to something like Star Wars. Han Solo, did the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs or whatever, 14 parsecs, I can't remember which it was. Han Solo, what a weird name. I never needed to know. I never needed to know where the aliens came from, Ridley. I never needed to fucking know. You've ruined it. You've made aliens shit now.
The mystery, isn't it? It's the unknown.
It's
exactly.
Unknown mystery.
And your mind's always, you have all these theories and all that kind of stuff, putting it all together in your head. And that's going to motivate you and drive you. Whereas when you get told that Han Solo's name came from because he was the only one in the queue to sign up for the Imperials, you're like, you are fucking kidding me. Really? Like Lord of the Rings, the new Lord of the Rings. Sorry, I shouldn't say Lord of the Rings. It's not Lord of the Rings. Rings of Power. The reason that Gandalf remembers his name is because the stupid hobbits that they invented that shouldn't have been there in the first place call him Grand Elf.
Oh, shut up!
I'm not fucking making this shit up.
Please stop. Make it stop. Is that what they've done with then?
That's what actually happened. And I'm just like,
now, man,
stop
I
it.
am bleeding out my ears listening to that.
Don't, just, and like, it's great. Prequels are cancer, because prequels generally, what they are for activists is a chance for somebody to go back, somebody more diverse, more less problematic, to go back and do it first and subvert something, which is why I'd much rather watch a shit sequel than a shit prequel.
Yeah, rewrite that story's history. Rewrite the law.
Exactly.
It's stupid.
Exactly
it's stupid.
that.
Leave the law alone.
Kirk didn't do this. Michael Burnham did it first. Gandalf didn't come up with this line. He got given it by somebody else in Rings of Power. You know, Narsil, the lady from Numenor, the black lady, I can't remember her name. Oh, Muriel gives Elendil the sword, Narsil, that cuts the rings off of Sauron's hand. Just complete and total subversion. And because they're going back in time, they can go, this was it first. Doctor Who. The first Doctor wasn't William Hartnell. The first Doctor was this young black child. You know,
yeah, was that on that fucking Timeless Child crap?
Exactly. That's what they can do by doing prequels, which is why I'd much rather they make sequels. Because like the Star Wars sequels, what was it, Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker, I can just go, that shit never happened. The story ends with Anakin's redemption and Luke becoming a Jedi. Done. I'm done. That's it. You know, that is it. Ends at episode 6, and then I've got some nice novels to read afterwards. All that Disney shit didn't happen. But when they do prequels and go back and actively change it all, it's harder to do that. It's harder to remove it of that legitimacy.
Well, John W. Campbell said that if you're writing something, it doesn't matter whether it's a screenplay, a short story, or a novel. His explanation was really, or his advice was, know where to start your story. You don't have to start it at the very beginning. You don't have to give tons and tons of backstory to everything. You don't have to.
No.
You know, which is why when he wrote the original version of Who Goes There, he took off about the first 3 chapters, so they kind of disappeared until 2017. So now we, you know, since they were rediscovered in university archives, you know, we know exactly what led up to what happens in Who Goes There. You know, how it all kind of come about. But he took those off because he knew where to start the story. He knew what was going to intrigue people, to get people straight into the story, into the characters, without having a ton of backstory. Prequels, I completely agree with you. I mean, could you imagine, right? You know, a series of prequels of this movie, of Texas Chainsaw prequels.
Yeah, we don't need to know the backstories of these characters. We just kind of get it. These are just ordinary lads, ordinary kids, aren't they? Ordinary 20-somethings, I should say.
Yeah. This is the idea. I mean, because they're not strong characters, you can put yourself into any of. You know, you feel like you could be in there. You're right in the middle of it all, and that's the great thing. You know, it's not like, you know, it's just I think of how they would make this film now, and I just cringe. I cringe. I just can't imagine it. I just can't imagine
you know, it'd be a whole TikTok thing, don't you? You know, it'd be, you know, kids on TikTok, kids on Instagram, and all that.
Well, it even happened in the last one. There was a Netflix. I'm sure there was a Netflix Chainsaw Massacre film or something. And they were all on a fucking bus, and the killers going on the bus with the chainsaw, and they're all fucking live streaming it.
Oh,
yeah, that made me fucking. It made me laugh at the same time. It made me fucking cringe as well. It's just.
I kind of like the fact that it was a commentary on how stupid kids are and stuff like that. I was at the same time, I was just like, Christ, that would actually happen as well, wouldn't it? You know, it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022 Netflix. Don't watch it.
Wouldn't the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, wouldn't the Leatherface be fucking really, really too old to be wielding a chainsaw now by then? Because I mean, not that we know how old this guy is already though, but he's he could be youngish, he could be middle aged.
It's like Mike Myers, isn't it? You know, Mike Myers is by the time Halloween, whatever the last one was, Halloween Ends rolls around, he's supposed to be like 70 something.
Yeah, he's older than because Jimmy Lee Curtis's character was round about in the 60s. So yeah, Mike Myers is obviously older.
Yeah.
So and he's still killing teenagers like he's a young man.
And Halloween Ends sucked because they made it not about Michael Myers, which was stupid.
See, with all of those, again, I didn't need Halloween 2. I kind of quite like it. It's sort of okay-ish, but I like Halloween, and I like Halloween 3: Season of the Witch, because Season of the Witch is nothing to do with Halloween.
Season of the Witch, mental.
Yeah, it's a good guilty pleasure. It's a good film to watch on Halloween, and just erase Halloween 2 and just have.
That's what John Carpenter wanted, wasn't it? He wanted each Halloween film to be an anthology.
Yeah.
So it would be unrelated.
They should have done that. They should have not made Halloween 2, do Season of the Witch, then do whatever other anthologies they wanted to do after. Because
I never remember. It's when it gets to the underground bit that like it's just like almost like a lab type thing, and my brain just goes out the fucking window. It goes, what am I watching? I have no idea what's going on here. This is a Halloween film. It's gone very weird.
That was written by the guy who wrote the Quatermass Experiment, wasn't it? The British guy. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I can't remember his name now.
I can't remember his name,
but yeah, I never get that bloody, was it Silver Shamrock song? I'm not
Shamrock.
Oh, fuck's sake. Now it's going to be stuck in
it's
my head.
so good, man. It's so good. And you do get some very good gruesome imagery as well with the pumpkins on the kids' faces. And oh, God, the amount of kids get killed in that movie is mental. I love it.
Yeah.
It doesn't give a fuck.
Can't kill kids in movies anymore.
Yeah, it's
even
though it's not directed by John Carpenter, you can still feel his fingerprints on it, though. The synth music, the way it's directed, and the fact it's got Tom Atkins in there as well. It was always worth watching in an 80s movie, as long as he has a mustache, of course.
yeah.
I think we're going to start wrapping up here, but we'll give our final thoughts now. And final thoughts is a disturbing, low-budget, gritty work of horrific art, and that's my final thoughts. And Critical, final thoughts?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the story's not much. The characters aren't much, but what it's saying is saying things subtly. The humans are the cattle. They talk about the slaughterhouse, and then that proceeds to the humans. Even that little hallway that they walk down leading up to the silver door with the red background behind it, very much like the kind of hallways they herd cattle down before they get, So there's all sorts of allegory there and stuff like that. But what really stands out with this film is the technical aspects of it. As has been said, the grittiness of it, the viscerality of it, the way that it puts you right in the zone, the way that everything feels real, and going by what Inside Man's been saying, that's because it is fucking real. And I think from that perspective, that's probably, for me at least, what makes it stand out more than most other horror films, and I think that's why it's going to remain a classic.
Yeah, Nix has brought his final thoughts. 8 out of 10. Sadly, a movie that desperately needs a sequel. Too bad it never had one. So. Yeah, he made another good comment as well. So it's a family picture. It's like, well, yeah, you can say that. It's about a family trying to have a nice dinner together.
Movie,
So yeah, Inside Man, final thoughts.
It's one of my favorite movies. It disturbed me then. It still disturbs me, and that's what I love about it. Something that can, and I'm going to echo exactly what Fandad said. When I first saw it, it absolutely disturbed me beyond belief. And it's one of the few, if not the only movie that when I watch it again, doesn't matter how many times I watch it, I get exactly the same feelings as I did when I first saw it. There aren't many movies that do that for me. That's why this takes pride of place in my collection, and it's such a blueprint. As I said before, accept no substitutes. This is the daddy of them all. And if I was score it, I can't give it any less than a 10. I'd seem to throw a lot of 10s around, but this movie really means something to me. It really
it wasn't
mean
made in the 80s. You're fine.
Yeah. I mean, this is. I think
it's 50 years old, isn't it? It's crazy that this film is
50 years old.
Years old.
More impact than most new horrors.
Yeah.
We have seen some very good ones this year as well. But it's still the old ones that do it more for me. There's something about the grainy footage, how old and crusty it looks, and how much more lived in everything is as well. And no streamers in sight, which is always a big plus. Yeah. And so Fandad, final thoughts.
Hello there. I think I'm going to go twofold on this, because, like we've said throughout the stream, if we break this film down in another way and look at story and characterization and dialogue and things like that, absolute shite. However, this film's just like probably the most important epitome and very definition of horror for me. It is the most awful, unenjoyable movie to watch in the best way possible. As far as scoring it, I think only Spinal Tap can score this one, if you know what I mean.
But this guy's up to 11.
Goes up to 11.
It's got to be like 11 out of 10. If you want to be truly disturbed and horrified, this is the film that is going to do it. If you are a true film enthusiast and fan of cinema.
Well said, mate. Well said.
Yeah,
well said.
I could have not said that fucking better, man. And yeah, so before we wrap up, Critical, anything you want to plug?
I've just released reviews for the Joker film and Hellboy, and I'm working on my pro comparison video as we speak, pretty much. I'm about a third of the way through. It's an hour-long video. I'm not used to making videos that long, and I'm splicing.
Yeah, I've watched your Crooked Man one. I've not watched your Joker one yet, and I'll keep an eye out for the other ones. Sorry, I've interrupted you. I do apologise.
No, that's all right. I was just going to say that this film is a film that I think you should see, regardless of if you're a horror fan. I think that if you're into film in any way, regardless of whether you're into the subject matter of the horror, I think you need to see this film, because I think, as Inside Man says, it's a filmmaker's film. So
agreed. Okay, and Inside Man, anything you want to plug?
Doing the Shield on Outcast Creators on Sunday, episodes 8 and 9. I believe you're going to be there as well, aren't you, mate?
Yes, I should be.
Have you caught up with them yet? Have you managed to watch them?
I'm going to catch up with the other episodes on Sunday and try and get as many notes together as I can.
Yeah. Are you enjoying it? You're enjoying it?
I am enjoying it. Yeah, that show is fucking awesome. I just love anytime a show gives me a character who you shouldn't like but still root for them is all right in my book.
Yeah. It's the first time for me. I've never seen it before, and watching it now, sort of episode by episode. I'm really enjoying it. So I'll see you on Sunday.
Ah, nice one, Hellboy.
All the library editions. Love a bit of Hellboy.
Yeah, I want to try and see the Crooked Man a little bit, see what it's like. I mean,
it's out on streaming now. It's just, it's got a budget of 20 million, man. I mean, that's less than an episode of The Acolyte. There's only so much you can do. They've jammed a load of shit in it they shouldn't have. It should have just been a TV series, and then they could have just done the Crooked Man story, and they wouldn't have to worry about all the other bollocks. But maybe it's hard to get TV series greenlit these days. I don't know. But the Hellboy series would be brilliant for a TV series, because it's been the most fucked up version of the X-Files you've ever seen. That'd be brilliant.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Guillermo del Toro did a good job with the visuals in the other movies. So yeah, I can
the visuals, but that people hold the Ron Perlman ones up. They're like, oh yeah, that's not Hellboy. That's not really. That's Guillermo del Toro's version of Hellboy. But it's not true to the comics. Ironically enough,
like Michael Keaton's Batman is more of Tim Burton's version of Batman.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly that. Yeah.
So yeah, you was plugging something else as well, weren't you, Inside Man? Sorry, man, we went off track there. I do apologize.
Yeah, no, it's all right. Yeah. So Shield, and I think I'm doing something on Outcast Creative on Monday. I can't remember exactly what it is. I'll have to go back and maybe ask Lance what it is I'm doing, and then obviously Nielsen ratings on Tuesday, and then winging all the way back to this time next week. What is it we're actually doing next week? I must ask.
I'll have to ask Lance about that anyway. But but since with that, I will try and look. Oh, sorry for this stream. I'm thinking that I might do Shaun of the Dead. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna have to miss it. Unfortunately, it's my missus' birthday. So
all right. Well, happy birthday to your missus.
I love the Cornetto trilogy. Pick a shit film instead.
Is she 19-year-old now? By any chance?
I wish. 12. No, she's only
as long as you're Mexican, it's legal.
No, she's only a couple of years younger than me. So we're seeing Alice Cooper in Manchester. So
man, I love Alice Cooper.
Good lad.
Yeah, Fandad. Oh yeah, I forgot.
Oh,
got anything
thanks.
you wanna plug?
Do you know what? I'm going to try and watch the Penguin so I can join you for next time you ring me, and then pretend that you didn't ring me, and then give me the death stare on a video
No.
call.
I think it was Toxic that rang me. That it said it. They
Yeah,
said World War Joe. It was weird. It was
it
weird. He said
came
a good
through to me,
call.
yeah. And
It's
then I
weird. It
answered
was
the
weird.
phone, and then there was just your face, and I thought you were going to come and I thought you were going to come and get me. It was like, mate, I'm live. What? Didn't even register. I didn't even know what you're on about. I'm live. I'm doing Penguin. I'm like, I haven't seen it. Bye.
I know. I was just
What
looking
the
at my
fuck?
fucking notes, and then suddenly the phone starts ringing, and it's like, oh shit, fucking hell!
It must,
I'm gonna have to
yeah,
answer this so I can let them know I'm live. Otherwise, it's
yeah.
just gonna keep fucking ringing.
I don't know how it. Somebody must have pressed the ring button and it came through to both of us. I don't know. But I'm going to try
Yeah, I
and
don't know.
watch that, and I'll see if I can join you next week.
Yeah,
Yeah, I might
come
do the
on,
same.
man. Yeah, it'll be
Might be a
you're
blast.
more than welcome. Anyone is more than welcome to jump on. You
I
know,
want to
to
see if I can get onto
yeah.
that Nielsen thing as well, because that sounds like a bit of a hoot as well. So
Well, you've
Lance,
been on it a couple of
Lance,
times. I'm sure Lance will let you on. I'm sure
yeah,
Lance will let you on if you ask.
I'll give you a shout on Tuesday. What's the dealio with that? Do you just watch something and talk about it?
Yeah,
Oh,
sometimes he
just
recommends. He gives us something to
yeah.
recommend, and then
yeah,
we talk about it. You know,
Oh, nice one. Yeah.
other
That
times we
sounds,
can just talk about something we saw recently, and that's it.
yeah.
it doesn't
That's,
even have to be something new.
yeah.
One time I went on there and I just talked about 2 Netflix films that I'd seen that were fairly old, but there's still stuff to say about them. So
Yeah. I've got a couple in mind, like as well. Halloween's on its way as well, isn't it? So it might be quite appropriate for. So yeah, cool.
Yeah. Okay then. So yeah, hopefully, ask Lance, see if he wants to, see if he'll get you on to the Nielsen ratings, and yeah, try and catch up on the Penguin if you can. I mean, it's still 3 episodes in, and the 4th
Yeah.
episode won't be till Sunday. So
Sunday, right? Okay, cool.
yeah,
I'll tell
So
you
when
what I have
you
been.
do the stream,
yeah,
Sorry.
you can stream it on the HBO Max. I don't know if you can get it on with your dodgy Fire Stick. I don't know, but
no,
if
when
you can, if you can, just sail the 7 seas.
I just call it my research module.
Yeah,
I'll ask Jack Sparrow. It's fine. But when do you
Yeah.
do your review stream? When do you do that?
around about 7. I'm going to try and do them regularly 7 o'clock on a Thursday.
Thursday.
On a Thursday, right? Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. I'll get the stream organised for you all as well, and
4 episodes
you know,
by then.
yeah, just get a schedule ready because I need to prioritise myself a little bit more as well after time. I keep forgetting to promote these bloody streams when I should be doing that.
Yeah, you've got loads of stuff scheduled on YouTube. You need to be plugging. Loads
I
of
know.
it.
Get
So
in
yeah, tomorrow morning I'm going to get all this typed down, put it on my YouTube post, and you know, and then maybe on the day get it sent on Facebook and Twitter. You know, all the social networks that I'm on. Yeah, we need to get you guys promoted. Damn it. Yeah.
God damn
Yeah, we
it.
need to get on Discord, and I need to be on Discord a bit more as well to see if it can feather my channel and hopefully feather your channels too. So
I lost a subscriber today. I obviously upset somebody.
yeah. So yeah,
Won't lose any sleep over it. It's fine.
well, I'm going to end on here right now, and yeah, thank you for joining us, Critical. Thank you, Inside Man.
Anytime,
Fandad people in the chat. Nick's, as always glad to have you on.
Yeah.
Wilson and Ray Terry, Toxic, and Atom Grey. Glad you could join us. Lance, yeah, I'm glad you could join us as well. I know you're doing your book, and I've said Lord Toxic, and thanks for the super chat as well. That was very nice.
Look forward to that.
A couple of quid, but I'm still very, very grateful. So
awesome.
So
David Wilson was in earlier, I think, as well.
Yeah,
David Wilson. Yeah, sorry, man. I must have missed you. I do apologise. But yeah, once again, thank you all for joining us. You've been beautiful bastards, and whether you beautiful bastards are Northern English or not, thanks for watching. And if you please remember to like, share, subscribe, and comment, and to ring that bell and to be notified. And if you wish to further support this channel, then click on the links below that I will post after. And right now, that is me done, and I am off to the pub. Thank you very much.